The experience of not belonging can manifest itself in different ways. You may not have belonged to the popular groups at school, or perhaps you don't belong to a certain religious community. Maybe you're the town's fool, or your family doesn't want to see you anymore. Whatever it is, not belonging can be painful, lonely, lead to feelings of disconnect, and it may be a lot harder to get things done when you never enjoy the benefits of in-group preference. Also, it increases the chance of social isolation, which can lead to mental and even physical illness. But not belonging in itself has its benefits as well. Let's talk about them. 1. Ultimate freedom. Groups can not only restrict the way we think and speak, but our physical movement as well. Perhaps they prohibit us from entering certain places, like buildings or even countries. Or we have to eliminate certain things from our diet, simply because of the group's ideology, whether or not supported by logic and reason. Admittingly, many things that groups prescribe can be very good for you, but that doesn't mean that we need the group's ideology to live a good life. Every ideology is contrary to human psychology, said French-Algerian philosopher Albert Camus. So we might sell ourselves short by engaging in ideological obedience. There are many groups to belong to, from religious communities to motorcycle gangs. But what an effort it takes to belong to these groups, to talk like they do, think like they do, dress like they do, you name it. And what's the reward? Well, that you belong. Thus, you are surrounded by people that conform to each other based on certain characteristics. Essentially, it's a form of safety. However, not belonging to a group grants us the freedom to look how we want, dress how we want, associate with and love who we want, think and say what we want, thus being an ideologically independent thinker that is not encumbered by a group's narrative. Now, that's what I call freedom. Paradoxically, this also gives us the freedom to actually associate with and be part of a group of our own preference. 2. Less in-group preference, more universal love. In Buddhism, there's a practice called metta. Metta means loving kindness. Now, this loving kindness is not selective. Rather, it is a universal love for all sentient beings. What we often see happening in groups is the opposite. They deeply love the members of the group while being hostile to those that do not belong to that group. This is in-group preference, which can be great when you are part of that group, but not so great when you're not. This also means that this form of love is conditional, because if you happen to become an outcast, this group love doesn't apply to you anymore. Try to convert to another religion, try to switch to another street gang or friends group, or support a different soccer team and see what happens. Now, if you don't belong to a certain group in the first place, you don't receive love from the same people, but you don't have to give it to the same people either. You are free to distribute your love to whomever you want. From this position, you can develop compassion for humanity as a whole, or like the Buddhists do for all sentient beings. I quote, "Just as a mother, at the risk of life, loves and protects her child, her only child, so one should cultivate this boundless love to all that live in the whole universe, extending from a consciousness sublime upwards and downwards and across the world, untroubled, free from hate and enmity." 3. Self-actualization above conformity. When I started this channel, I made a highly criticized video about an idea called the Sigma male. According to this idea, the Sigma male does not identify with a specific place in the hierarchy, or with a group for that matter. His way is using the hierarchy to his advantage, while maintaining his independence and autonomy. This could apply to females as well, of course, called the Sigma female. Now, the person I described is someone who chooses self-actualization above conformity. Because, let's face it, both processes take effort. It takes energy to conform to what the herd perceives as the norm. To quote Camus again, nobody realizes that some people expend tremendous energy merely to be normal. End quote. People need each other to some extent. For example, I'm happy to belong to the Kingdom of the Netherlands as a citizen and all the benefits that come from that. And it's also part of my identity. But aside from abiding the law and conforming to some local customs in public places, I have great freedom in how I arrange my life and also in choosing my values. Now, I don't think that conformity is always a bad thing. In some cases, it is necessary for practical reasons. But instead of making it our default pursuit to belong somewhere, we can also put this energy into self-development and become people that are more true to themselves. There is a tremendous amount of energy we save by non-conformity. However, the sacrifice we make is that we don't have a place in the herd, which doesn't necessarily mean social isolation, by the way. To wrap it up, the benefits of not belonging are ultimate freedom, less in-group preference, which could lead to more universal love, and self-actualization above conformity. While making this video, I realize how much I love to be an individual who can be genuinely himself, ideologically independent, and basically question everything and everyone without repercussions. Even though it's a path of solitude and uncertainty, the delight of not belonging is truly priceless. Thank you for watching.
Are you crying? Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in foosball.
You fucking cried after 3 days in the fucking holding tank. Looked like a fucking pile of wet rags at court. You should see how I showed up to court after 3 days in the box with the light on.
Please, is there anything I can do, sir? Please.
Does he look like a bitch? What?
Don't do this to my wife, man. You don't know what you're doing to my family, man.
Does he look like a bitch?
Sir, please don't make me sleep in jail tonight, sir. Please. I'm begging.
We're not criminals.
They're gonna make me sleep in jail.
Continue. You were saying something about best intentions?
Josh has never been arrested for recording.
Okay, so that's him getting arrested, and then his friend here makes a phone call that I want to touch on.
So not only should we all have enough self-care to just cut these people off and not deal with them, and especially if we're going to interact or observe out of fascination or entertainment, stop submitting, stop denying reality, stop allowing the beings to project onto you and abuse you and deceive you and just act like it's all okay and it's cute and cuddly. It's not. It's completely sick and twisted. It's dysfunctional. It's not virtuous. It's unjust. But it's just another day in the metaverse, just another day in the universe. And there's no shortage of folks here who do not want to be empowered, do not want to be inspired, do not want to be entertaining either, just want to go along to get along, have a false peace, don't want to have to embrace the chaos of the universe that leads to a revelation of order and understanding. One needs the other needs one in order to have the experience. Okay? So again, fine line between accepting people are going to be people and do what they do and not try to change them or control them versus denying reality and letting yourself be subject to a completely twisted, dysfunctional dynamic that was most likely started in your household that you don't want to bear witness to. Because newsflash, the majority of us on here on these panels had narcissistic parents. That's why we find a home, non-home together. That's why most of us can't live with each other or without each other. Right? The difference between me and most folks on here is I became aware of all these dynamics a while back. And then I've attempted to practice with them, interact with them a different way, communicate them, resolve them either externally or internally. Usually one goes before the other, as within, so without, as above, so below, as they say. Or just practice different ways of experiencing what's going on here. So again, I'm not picking on folks. I'm not downing on them. These folks who are attracted to narcissistic personalities love to play the victim, because that's the other side of the narcissist, the victimhood complex slave. So as soon as I talk about the truth and reality a lot of us experience here and why we become the way we become, they'll immediately create distance between themselves and me and try to cope, to feel better once again, deny the reality they experience, but it's evident to any being who has a background in self-knowledge, psychology, sociology, anthropology, historicity, right, and like familial experiences. It's clear-cut examples of so many different static dynamics that are taking, that are playing out here consistently. Understand it, change it, get a handle on it. I don't know. It's a crazy idea, right? No, we'll just keep jacking off all day, every day on panels. We'll just keep playing into our complete dysfunction that's rooted in Freudian psychology, was created at our, if not at our birth, through our formative years in our households. And we'll just play all that fucking trauma bonding out over and over again on these meta webs for your masters to just laugh and giggle at. I know I get a hoot at it. I'm fascinated by it. They must be over the moon about it. What are we doing here today? What is this? You guys are completely fucked up. Again, it's more of observe and report from a place of astounding fascination about how humans do what they do and make the decisions they make regularly. And again, I concede that either I'm always on the outs because I'm not in the in and in the know, and I'm not conscious and aware, but think I am. That's a dynamic we've seen many times. Or I am conscious and aware, and I'm constantly, for the majority, surrounded by folks who can't find their ass with two hands and wouldn't know how to be honest and real with themselves and others if their life depended on it, because it does, and they aren't.
Man, that guy's angry. All right, I was probably bullying someone in that clip and being mean, as is always. All the Gorilla Gems intros, outros are me bullying people and being mean. But we got shit to get to today. We got Andy here. We got Hefe here. Hefe, I spoke to you yesterday privately. We're going to take a fair bit of time today and kind of, go over as usual what you got going on. That all of us who are involved in these certain things got going on when it comes to upholding what we understand as the law of the land versus being told that we're going to submit to statute, policy, and code implicitly without any man or woman on the other side, technically, right? Without a valid, verified claimant. We know the game, right? The dual jurisdiction, and apparently folks are not always playing fair on either side. So it's part of the dynamic of living a full life in a real life at this time in history or any time in history. We can, kick back, as I was doing before preparing with the easy listening music while Andy was waiting in the background. I was doing a broadcast for him in that sense, playing some old-timey, easy listening music. We can kick back and do the endless garden party. We can also recognize that anytime you zoom in history, there are going to be a few folks in the shadows, usually. I'm one of the few who's kind of outspoken and out front. But yeah, they're going to be doing what's true and what's right, and they're not going to be getting the credit for it, nor do they need it, because credibility is what matters in the sense of doing what's true and what's right and upholding the foundations of the law of the land. And engaging in what some may call a experience of a Holy Spirit, right? Like being truly caring and loving of certain things, people, places, and things, and doing the next right thing and standing for something here. So it's very much echoes the story that we see in Scripture, the Christed being, right? It's like in the world, not of it. You can't serve two masters. So it would seem to me, no matter where we go, on any land throughout history, the thematics remain the same. That we're being potentially, again, I'm not going to objectively claim that. They know where I stand because I live this. I can't make it everyone else's truth, but I can draw a conclusion that this truth that is true for me is true for every other self because of the dynamics that I see, how we're living, what people are complaining about, what they say they'd rather have, and what prosperity and freedom actually looks like versus a limited liberty, right? Which is, again, maritime terminology. If they pull over at port and they let you off on the dock to fuck the hookers and have a drink, you still got to be back to port the next morning to fill your position on the citizen ship, right? So true freedom and personal choice with God's will is very different from liberty, which a sailor gets at port. And you got a lot of Babylonian citizen slaves running around here who go, Paulie, we don't see the problem. We don't see how we're not free and have our personal choice. We get to go to Slave Mart. We get to have our beer in the evenings. We get to watch our sport ball. It's like, yeah, you're not getting it. On the core level or the external level, you're not getting it. If you can't do whatever you want to do as a man, which used to be what they would say becoming a man was, forgive me, Hefe, I'm going to rant a little bit and then we'll get to it. But, I got to vent a little bit. I guess it's part of what we do here. And inspire indirectly. You used to say, I didn't have a mama growing up who was really in my life, right? She was disabled and constantly drinking and want little to nothing to do with me. But I used to see like old Western movies and I used to watch certain things or hear about certain things, the lore, right? Which is where law comes from, the lore. And mama used to tell the son, one day, son, this is going to be your house and you're going to be growed up and you're going to be a man and you can do whatever you want when that day comes, as long as you don't cause no loss, injury, and harm and you pay all your debts if you keep your word, to keep your word in the contracts that you make. And that somehow turned into millions of statutes, policies, and codes where if you do the statistics and you took a poll, the average citizen, according to a book that was written, it's not my book, 4 felonies a day, it's what it's called. It's a very fascinating book from what I gather. I haven't read it, but I've gone over the synopsis. And what it basically details is that the average citizen slave, the nicest, most politest guy out there commits 4 felonies a day, technically, unknowingly. Okay. So when the average good white man, like John who comes here, Andy might be my new favorite good white man. Look at him. He's in a very white house. He's got the black glasses. He looks very astute and intellectual. He's successful, it seems. He's contributed to me. When the average good white man wakes up every day and tries to do their best, to some degree, and is somehow criminalized through statute, policy, and code, we got a problem. All right? We got a problem. Andy and John and others, I'm sure they're not perfect, far from it. I'm sure they are tested and challenged by their physicality, their biology, their genetics, their nature and nurture aspects, the lust, the desires, the greed, the selfishness, the sins of the flesh, as they say. We're all tested and challenged by that. But these are hardly folks who are causing loss, injury, and harm. I want to believe, and I want to believe they're men of their word and they pay their debts and they don't wake up every day going, I'm going to cause loss, injury, and harm. I'm going to lie, cheat, and steal. I think that I'm God incarnate, and in the sense of if you did think you were God incarnate, you probably wouldn't be lying, cheating, and stealing, deceiving, killing, destroying, unless you were the God of this world, I guess, or a politician, possibly policy enforcement, sometimes by accident. They know not what they do. Andy, what can I do for you? Because I'll just keep rattling on, ask them, I can go on and on. And I want to make sure that, we address something, and then I got to get to Hefe because, as I said, he's got court stuff going on. They're doing the sovereign citizen thing with him. It seems that, like most of us, when we first go through this, it's always a bit scary. It's like hitting a stage, but when you first do it, the first couple times, it hits different, as the kids say, on the ground nowadays. So I want to get to him. I want to work with him, and I want to sort of remind him of what I know about me, which I'm sure is true about him, what we're doing this for, where this all goes, what the potentialities are, and then why that is potentially okay, because we have to be true to ourselves and have this experience. That's just the way some of us are. We learn the hard way, as they like to tell us growing up. And that to me is the best way, right? Through firsthand experience, because if not, you trick yourself out of a power and a position of having the authentic experience. You can't know how to do right until you've authentically done wrong. So I would never take anyone's free will or choice away to do wrong in order to get right. Because if you don't allow people to be truly free, to learn what's true and what's right, not only for them, but objectively, they never actually get to learn. They go through life as a follower, just doing what everyone else does. They don't have an authentic connection to a moral compass. That's concerning to folks like me, right? Always has been, always will be. And that's why I live the way that I live. I can't tell anyone else to do the same thing, because you see how the guy who got 300,000 views when they played the video, him on the side of the road telling the cop, Paul Unslaved was on YouTube telling us to do this. No, I never told you to be a coward. I never told you to do this because it wasn't authentic to you. I never told you when you do this, you ain't going to go to court, potentially go to jail. I told you the opposite. Just like Freeman was over there with Brian, another 300,000 people he want to sit there and lie to and pretend I told people there's a silver bullet to this. No, I didn't. I told them I got a silver and gold tongue, and even that gets me in trouble when I don't know when to shut the fuck up and know what to do next. And guess what? If you don't have silver or brass balls, as they like to tell me, I don't see it that way. I see it as a big heart. But they like to say, Paulie boy, you got silver and brass balls and they're big the way you walk into court. And not really. I'm tested and challenged when I walk into court. I'm a bit fearful like anybody else. I just know why the fuck I'm there. And I know what I'm prepared to do and not do. I don't care if it's killing and dying for whatever it is. I could be shook and still pull the trigger, metaphorically, metaphysically, because I know why I'm there and why I'm doing what I'm doing and for what reason, for better or for worse, you know? So that's called conviction. That's how you get judged properly by God and the universe and get what's meant for you and not be judged by your fellow man who has no authority to actually judge you to begin with. Discernment and judgment are two very different things. So they can go to court and they can presume and assume till it's rebutted. And they can even go forward with treating you the way that you are. But how you respond to that and how you live and what you put on record is the example. It cannot be validated or invalidated by the ignorant or arrogant. Can't even be validated or invalidated by the conscious and aware. It's only validated or invalidated by the firsthand experience and walk. And until a man does that, in my book, there is no coming of age story. You're not a man. Until you use your God-given moral compass to do what's true and what's right to you and ignore the policies and the codes to a society you never opted into to begin with, but they want to push on everybody, which is the definition of terrorism. Oh, we're all going to vote for president. You're going to pay the slave tax. We're going to put everybody in commerce. We're going to use policy and code to regulate man and woman's free movements and actions. No, you ain't. Because it's statism and fascism. And from the beginning of time till the end of time, there's a motherfucker like me with a heart like mine, activated by God to be here as a balancing force to what would already be taken by the dark one, this world. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? We're going to sit here. I'm going to sit here with Hefe and talk about him or I do in 6 months or 2 years or whatever else, when we already know why the fuck we're here from somewhere else to incarnate at this time because it's needed now more than ever, like any time in history. While they're yapping about great men and making America great again. Yeah, I know what that looks and feels like. And it's nothing about what they're showing and telling here on these screens. Just like Antoine and all the rest of them. I'm already fired up and started. F8, go ahead, man. Andy, someone take it from me. Because if not, I'm going to keep running with it. You know, I run the ball every time. I don't pass. I run the ball. What do you got going on, man?
I'd like to hear.
I'll let Andy take it if he wants, but I'm going to be a while. I want to take up a lot of time. So if Andy's,
that's cool. I'm just
take the time that you need, man. We're 7 days a week here. You're going to court. You're facing jail time, just like Julian and others. He got through that, had a decent outcome. The administrators gave him the answer. I'm gonna start off, and then you take it from me, Hefe. I looked over your paperwork. If you want, we could bring it up here because I think potentially it's a good exercise. We're simulating court here. I'm going to bring Brian O'Shea in. He can be a co-counsel in a sense, or just witness.
Okay. Do you want me to go over the timeline first, and then because what I sent you was the very last thing that I've sent in.
Yeah, we can do that. It just gets a bit hectic because I wish I had more answers, but the answers don't come without the experience, which means, just like I told Julian, a large portion of this is going to have to be you keeping the faith, keeping it simple, not overdoing it, and knowing when to just put a correspondence in and knowing when to just shut up and ride on trust, equity, and faith. You know, because I looked at the documents, you're on with the living man and all the rest of this. This is how they start calling you a sovereign citizen. And I don't mind, because everything they call me, I can answer to. It's really not that simple. Then you have to decide, because there's different ways to look at this. Some folks, I won't talk about what some folks will say. I will talk about aspects of me. There are aspects of me that says you should put in 1 or 2 correspondence and just shut up and let it ride and just play it out till the end and see where it goes, because they don't have anything unless you give it to them. The other side of me, that is what winds up happening, regardless of even if I set that rule for myself, just like these broadcasts, I set an intention and I usually waver from it. And I go to running my mouth and I go to responding to them and I go to putting correspondence in based on what they're saying. And I'm giving them life and energy and attention. Some might say, some might argue. By arguing with it, by addressing it, by answering it, you're giving it your time, energy, attention. You're bringing life to it. When there's nobody on the other side and there's nothing going on other than someone's writing up papers and they're making threats in them of what they're going to do to you. Like, it sounds silly, but everything in between, if that doesn't actually happen, proves it's not as real as it feels like. And again, this is why I bring up the Carl Lentz videos, because there's over 20 hours of question and answer with him. He was one of my first inspirations while starting this and doing this. And we align almost completely in the way that we approach this, you know, and then again, I'm not going to beat up on you, but everything that I do and say and everything he does and says, you and others don't listen to. Like I say, don't use their paperwork. Use your own claim. Use your own. I don't care if it's 2 or 3 lines. Keeping it simple works best. So then what does everyone do? They want to start adding extra words. I'm the living man. This, that, and the third. Getting into Latin and all the rest of it. It's not helping anybody's cause. Nobody is looking any more intelligent. Nobody's getting any more power with that. If anything, they're using it against you. So the idea is short and sweet, simple. Nothing before or after as much as possible to bring life to their dead nonsense that's only on paper with no man or woman on the other side, right? And that's how, you know, try to keep yourself out of their jurisdiction. Like, if anything, I'm at that court moving a claim that there's a man or woman doing a wrong to me. If not, I'd love to move forward with your case and your party, but we don't have a man or woman on the other side. So till a man or woman comes forth, we don't have a valid verified claim. And then they're going to try to argue code with you. You broke the code. And we have a person here who says he's the people and all the rest of this crap. And then you got yourself objecting all the way down the line. So it's like, I can only talk from my experience. I have at least half a dozen of these over the past 3 to 5 years. They've all either been dismissed directly at court, as the one was 3 months ago, or they've apparently been dismissed after warrants were supposedly put out, where I didn't sign anything and didn't agree to present at any of their venues, because really we're back to square one. These are administrative courts. They're private commercial venues. There's no man or woman on the other side. They're trying you under a society, a legal society with legalese. If you keep showing up and keep arguing and you wear a suit and you use Latin and all the rest of it, they're going to think you're one of them. And if you say you're not a citizen or the rest of it, they're going to try to hit you with sovereign citizen. They did that to me one of the first 2 or 3 times. I think the second time they hit me with the judge thinks on the paper, judge makes a determination, man is sovereign citizen. This is a game they're playing. Really, if you want to get past like the technicality, it's a game. Oh, thank you for your offer of you considering me a sovereign citizen, for whatever benefits and privileges or immunities that come with that. But let me be clear. I'm not a sovereign because I'm not God. God makes the law. Men and women interpret the law. That's what people who are state agents do. They're interpreting the lore or the law. They're codifying common sense. Hey, we think you should do this, doing this because it keeps everyone safe. And okay, that's their common practice and their common sense. It's a belief. So they've codified a law or the lore. What used to be what your daddy would teach you. Hey, when you go out in the woods, you do this, you do that, you do the third. You know, you shake hands, you look a man in the eye, you try to pay your debts, you don't lie. You don't cheat on your woman. You know, if you're going to get in with the mix in, you got to let her know and give her an opportunity. You know, try to be an ethical, honorable, logical, safe man, while also, ironically, being a bit dangerous when necessary. Is what the founder said. I won't say that. You know, dangerous to tyrants.
Okay. So first off, I want to say thanks for making this available. You know, it's a really powerful community that you created. So having the fellowship available is, you know, I don't know. I probably wouldn't do any of this if I mean, I had learned about the traveling and everything, but you made it more accessible, and probably why
You
I
understand that
wouldn't.
while I'm passionate here, because I didn't create this, I'm facilitating this. This is part of a universal movement. So
Yeah, and I understand.
you understand that this
You're doing what's
started.
true and right, and you're helping other people see what's true and what's right, and you're helping them know that they have power to do the same thing.
Can you understand that when it comes to you, with you, because I talked with you about this last time, that while I get passionate here and I get loud, when it comes to these people, I try to check that as much as possible. I'm obviously not as successful as I could be because I've told a story about the guy saying he heard me through the wall when it came to talking to DHS and the agents. So I get it pretty passionate and loud. The point is I never try to come at them questioning or challenging rather their worldly power, their force, their masculinity, whatever the case may be. I try not to bring it to pride and ego, right? So it started there. It started with your attitude toward them and the way that, like, now they're going to try to hit you with the characterization. You think you're above the
my
law.
attitude with the cop?
Yeah, you were kind of you were being really like
yeah,
sort
I was
of
like, you don't have any right. You don't. You know, I'm not driving. Yeah, I tried to have court on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I know that there's no reason to do that now, and I'll basically, identify to them as soon as they say it's an order.
They have the control. They taught you that.
Duress and coercion.
They taught you that, right? It's like God somehow, some way got us into this. God's going to get us out of this if we walk with it. If you try to play tough guy and you try to act like you got the power and control in this world, people who actually have the power and control in this world are going to show you different. It's the same way if I go to prison and I'm dealing with Bloods and Crips. There's a level of respect for myself and respect for them. There's a level of, if I think that I'm going to have the power and the control, they're going to show me whether they got to get 6 or 8 other people who has the physical power and control. So we're going to have to work in trust, equity, and faith first. Let's not take it to the physical competitive realm because we're probably not going to win that. We got to be logical, moral, ethical, measured, tempered, good faith, and honorable enough to know without being cowards what can be done and what can't be done, right? And the fact that the more we embrace that, the more the universe is going to work with us because the softest thing overcomes the hardest thing. You know, that's right. This is just kind of going back to the water, the waves and the mountains, right? Over time, the water will wear down the mountains. So we can't act hard and in control and empowered beyond our means. It doesn't serve us. It detracts from what we're doing, and it just gets us caught up. And they go, oh, you think you're this? Well, watch how you're not that. Like the Castro, right? That's why I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm making it clear for everyone else watching, using your situation and some of mine as an example, right? Like if you try to stand on something where your ground is not firm, if you stand on tiptoe, you will be unsteady, right? I just give you one line of the Tao after the next, and this is what it's talking about: how to wield true power and true value. Your truest power and your truest value is going to be showing them that you're subservient to God, that you work in trust, equity, and faith, that you're real, but you're honorable. And you're not challenging them. You're not trying to overthrow them. You're not trying to even interfere with their slave business with the other slaves because they got contracts with them. I'm nobody's hero. I ain't Enrique Iglesias. You want to take out contracts? Go ahead.
I'm just like, I thought when I was interacting with the cop that I was rebutting his presumption. He pulled me over presuming that I was driving. So I wasn't trying to say, hey, you don't have any power over me. I was trying to say, I'm not in contract with the state of Arizona. I'm not driving. I'm not operating a commercial motor vehicle, all that. I was just trying to clarify to him so that he understood where I was coming from.
Oh yeah, they do. You're a sovereign citizen as far as they're concerned. That's all they know, like a parrot. So the chimp on the side of the road, 9 out of 10 of them, they ain't Valdez in that one video. They don't give a fuck. They don't know the law. They'll admit they don't know the law. They're there to follow procedure and what they've been trained, and they've all been mistrained. We've established that at the courts. That's what makes this mafia work. What makes the mafia work is the Don gets to sit at court and pretend he doesn't know what's going on the street and go, oh, they beat you up again? Oh, Louis the Wrench, I got to talk to him. Well, tell me now what happened. And by that time, you're already worked over and beat up and so scared you can't even own your truth and your position. Gotcha, bitch. They know, but don't know what's going on, right? It's the wink and the nod. It's the look the other way. And it works perfectly. Go ahead.
All right. For my next interaction, I'm just preparing. If they pull me over, I'm gonna say, are you ordering me to identify? And can you articulate the crime? I don't know. What else should I say? What should I be quiet about?
I can't tell you what I'm going to do because every time I think I know what I'm doing next, whatever takes over in the moment. But I'm at the point now where I go, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to do it. Let's not get into the back and forth. And I don't want to kind of disrespect you in your job. You just go ahead and do whatever you think is necessary. And I will comply under duress at this point, and we'll handle it at court. Right.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into it with a chimpanzee who can't find their ass with both hands. I'm sorry. Most of these people are not the most intelligent and righteous people. They're not really justice oriented. They're not really great with words either and communication. These are people who 50% of them drink and beat their wife, statistically, from what I understand.
Oh, only 50?
Whatever. You get my point. Like, I'm not going to get into it, bro. So let's just save ourselves the time, energy, attention. You have a belief. I have a belief. No disrespect to you. No disrespect to me. If you think you got to cite me for 3 to 5 things, make it 10. Because I'm going to go to court and I'm going to whittle this shit down and we're going to get up out of there like always. And then I'm going to sue everybody. And that's it. What else do we need to know? Because what you said and what you feel doesn't fucking make a difference to him. Matter of fact, you could argue if you could own the position, he's probably more likely to get a bit nervous. Me telling him just like that in a quiet voice, hey, bro, let's not get into this. Go ahead and hit me with 10 of them instead of 5. Double it. Because I've already been through this 7 or 8 times. And I got a lawsuit right now with the agents from New Mexico. And I'm ready to put another 2 or 3 things on my plate. So let's go. Hop 2. Get the pen and pad. Do what you got to do. He's more likely to stop and think, this motherfucker seems to know something that I don't.
It's too calm. Yeah.
He's a little too quiet, right? He's a little too accepting of what's going on, right? It's a little too quiet. That's true confidence. That's true faith. That's true trusting God in the process. That's trusting yourself and why you're doing all this. Doesn't matter what he puts on the paper. I've already proven that concept. They've had me with felonies for trying to bribe people. I got these guys yelling, why is he free? Who is he ratting on? I'm still waiting for that paperwork to come out. I'm still waiting for that court record of me pointing somebody out it never happened and it's never going to come out. Right. So they just can't believe that on some level, sometimes, some places, I can't say for everyone, but I believe that I'm not special. So the door is open. How you walk through and what you get on the other side oftentimes seems to be dependent on the universal order. Right. And oftentimes, seemingly, what you believe about yourself and the outcome. I can't explain that. It's quantum physics. It checks out. I can't explain how that works. I don't think anyone can. So what you believe about yourself and this process going into it and during it will greatly influence the outcome of the experiment, like the double slit experiment, the particles and waves, right? We're doing particles and waves all day, every day. And what you think and feel and witness about it changes the outcome on some level. So I've just accepted that doing this, I don't have anything else. And I correlate that with scripture. I gave everything else up to give everything back. And because I truly have faith, the size of a mustard seed, the proverbial mountains move, right? That's been my experience. And I contend that it's part of God giving me an experience so I can do testimony of it to whoever's within the sound of my voice, that this thing is real. Because there is no other explanation other than the one I gave, the logical, worldly one. And I'm sure folks will latch onto that because they'll latch onto anything their logical, rational mind can handle, which is the downfall of the human condition, is what I've learned for myself. But the only other thing I could think of is the feds or someone took over and they're letting me get a bunch of buys on the local and state level so they can hit me on a higher level. It's been 3-5 years already. Nothing's happened yet. I've been locked up multiple times. There's no warrants from anywhere. So either they're...
What would they get you on?
That's the point. I don't know. I'm just saying for the people who want to doubt and hate or can't believe that just being good and true and putting the right words on paper and making them feel it and letting them know you ain't leaving and that jail ain't the worst fate, that's the only other thing I can think of. And the more that the time runs out on that, the more that's not the reality. And then they'll superimpose their own reality that I'm ratting, I'm working shit off, I'm a paid agent, I'm whatever. It's none of that, right? Like, you could believe whatever you want to believe, but I mean, you know, I do so many hours a day, and I got her here and her record and everyone else around me and Julian and these. Is everyone an agent? Did I pay everyone to be in on this with me? You know, who's paying them, right? At some point, you have to concede that it's most likely just what it looks like and what I'm saying it is and what it seems to be, right? And that's coming from someone who I know from the other side. Like, I'm wary of everyone. I didn't trust Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, Donnie. I never trusted none of them. They all seem to be agency to me on some level. So I don't really fault people for saying the same thing about me. At a certain point, the record speaks for itself. You know, like who am I ratting on? You know, well, how am I working it off? There's no proof, there's no connections. It didn't happen. What did happen is a whole bunch of people being part of an experience with me and witnessing a profound change in me and my life and other people's around me, which at some point you have to contend is God, right? We have to like get away from our pride and ego and denial and delusion and disempowerment and disintegration and just recognize greatness. It's not about me. There's greatness within me, just like there is in everybody. That's God. That's what they taught us at NAAA. They gave everybody a chip when we did certain things, recognizing greatness. And they used to make a joke about it with me. There was another one, child of God. They used to laugh at me. Oh, you think you're a child of God. Oh, you think you're so great. Nah, I'm changing my ways. And for me to do that, I got to start recognizing the greatness in me and in others and in life and shoot for the opportunity, right? They want to act like that's not cool enough. It's not hip to do what's true and what's right and uphold the actual law here. You see what happens when you don't. We go into complete ruination and desolation. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Even more so, my people perish for lack of action with that knowledge.
All right, let me go over the timeline real quick, just so everybody's on the same page. So I got arrested for traveling in August. I made a special presentment the next day. The administrator said, I'm going to find you in contempt if you keep talking like this. When I don't even remember the things I said, but it was basically like, if there's not another man on the other side of the claim, you know, then there's no...
You can't vocally interact with somebody at that point. You got to write on the box, read the room and who you're dealing with.
Yeah. So I mean, and she entered a plea on my behalf, and I said, let the record show that I don't consent to that. She got up and left the room and then came back in with a book and cited some code that she could enter a plea on my behalf. And so I just reiterated that I didn't consent.
If you don't believe that you've consented and contracted and that they have no authority and jurisdiction over you, why do you keep showing up and arguing with them and their codes?
That was the only day I showed up.
Okay.
So the initial arraignment, the day after I got arrested, I went in that morning just to see, right? Because I was listening to you and you said, go see how they're going to handle the situation. Well, she was totally slaved out, coded out. So she put in the plea on my behalf, and I put it on the record that I didn't consent. And then I sent in correspondence the same day, which they ignored. It got filed on the case, I guess, but it didn't stop them from issuing a warrant. So they issued a warrant. Then after the warrant got issued, I said, okay, well, I'm going to file a claim against them since they're ignoring my correspondence. So I filed the claim in the higher court. I had a handwritten claim initially, and the clerk was like, no, we won't accept this, you know, and you can't file your handwritten claim. You have to use our forms. So she was lying. Obviously, I know that now. So I used their form. I got the case number, but then I filed an amended complaint No, sorry, an amended claim before I served any of the defendants, which were the judge, the cops, the detention center. So I had sort of entered the handwritten claim back in on the record before I served summons. So then they all got their summons, and once they got their service, they motioned for change of venue to the federal court, and then motioned for dismissal.
Where are you at with that?
So I responded to them. I responded to their motion to dismiss.
See, this is what I don't understand, and like maybe I'm missing something, because we're all trial by fire here, right? Like I'm still haven't had my hearing yet till February. Obviously, not obviously, but I told you, and I've given some of you the claim that I filed, at least the original, the draft that then was amended from plaintiff complaint to claimant respondent. The point is of course they have to take your claim of a wrongdoing at the court. They can't force you to go to school and learn legalese and in a whole nother language and process and procedure to address a wrongdoing. So this seems to be commonplace. And again, I don't want to overplay this hand, but I can't ignore the energetic sort of psychological, sub-psychological, spiritual component of this whole game. The more sure of myself I've become, the more something around me keeps giving me my way. The less sure I am of myself, the more they keep throwing crap in my way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you don't think about it.
I'm very confident that I am a good man and that I've done no wrong. But wrong.
Yeah,
was
but you're
done to
not
me.
confident in how to make them work for you.
Well, okay. So, anyways, this response to their motion to dismiss, I filed that as.
Why are you responding to their crap when they have no firsthand knowledge? Aren't they talking through attorneys?
The federal court issued something on the record saying if I don't respond to their motion to dismiss, it'll be dismissed automatically. So,
okay. I mean, maybe that's why that's strange to me that they're trying to change venue to supposed federal court.
Yeah, but they're doing that because they claimed that I made that I had a federal cause of action against them in my claim because I cited the definition of motor vehicle under the CFR.
Okay.
And the Arizona statute.
But see, this is my point again. You're citing CFR, which is code, and now they're motioning for change of venue to help. This is so fascinating. They're literally helping you have a better case.
That's what I thought. Like, why would they give me the next?
This is what I keep telling everyone. These people are dying for you guys to get your fucking act together to whoop them. They're like, could you please get your shit together? We're tired of doing this routine. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? They're dying for you to learn how to throw punches back and bob and weave and give them a run for their money. So they literally just could have dismissed you and acted like you were a clown, and they move venues to give you a fighting chance. This is why I oftentimes say I came into this like DeCastro, hating government and cops and all the rest of it, and now realizing this is one big game, and half the time you don't even know they're helping you because they know you don't know what you're doing, and without this, their whole fucking life is gone.
They were throwing me a bone or something, when they wanted to change venues, but then right after that, they're motioning to dismiss. And their motion for dismissal is basically that I don't have any valid argument against their motion to dismiss, and that
and
that I failed to follow the court procedures.
This is again, we're using, this is where you have to be clear to them. A court is by definition a four-walled venue. I'm using your venue and I'm nominating a magistrate to hear this matter and preside over it. Ultimately, this is my court.
Right. And
I've established it. I'm moving it. I have the claim. I'm the only one here with status and standing and interest in the matter. Everyone else is third party and partial. They're there to help me co-administrate. They're not there
so
to.
How much of that do I say to them? How much of that do I put on
guess whatever you feel you need to. We're on the fly here, and at some point you got to make a decision. Do I shut up and say less, or do I let them goad me into just giving them common sense and seeing where it goes? Again, this is trial by fire. Because ultimately, if you use their forms and you enter into the jurisdiction, you're conferring jurisdiction or completely relinquishing jurisdiction over to them to run the court however they want. They're going to administrate your affairs in a state now.
That's why the last thing that I entered, the last thing that I filed, I actually titled it in the court of my last name. So it's not in the court, and it's not in the district court or whatever. I filed it in my last name.
Court, right. It's at the court. We're at district court in the court of whoever, so whatever.
They actually accepted it, even though that's against court procedure or whatever.
Of course it is, because they're just trying to get you pigeonholed to their left-brained world. They want you to really believe legal process and policy and code is all there is. They'll even call you idiotic and dumb and all the rest of it while they rule in favor of you, while they push you over, while they actually... This is a big fucking pimp game they're playing. They go, this hoe's about to break out of the stable. We see her. She's an up-and-comer. She's going to go get on OnlyFans and make $1 billion while we're scrapping. But we ain't going to let her out that easy. We're going to tell her she ain't shit. We're going to tell her, good luck getting somebody else to pimp on you as good as me, baby girl. You need me. I got your safety. It's a game. While they're pushing you out the door and telling you good luck because they respect your gangster, quote unquote, they're giving you the shit tests on the way out, seeing if you're really about it. Are you really going to break away and do your own thing? Are you really going to run a court like a king? Or are you going to act like a bitch and you're going to argue with them and respond to their nonsense and get down to their level? They know that this is the point. They know that man in its purest form is the closest thing to God here and has all the interest and equity and say in the matter. If you would just be honorable and good faith and command respect, that's the big if. So yeah, when you start to write and speak in a way that sounds like the king who just walked in, crown or no crown, they're going to start taking notice. They're going to say, this guy's got it. We respect this player. We're going to give him his way. Because he's got the facts on his side anyway. He's honorable in good faith. They're honorable in good faith when you are as well. When you're not, they're going to reflect back to you your game.
Yeah, but I'm not playing games.
I mean game as in the way that you do business and your procedure. How are you able to take charge and move the court? If you're not, then they're going to show you who is.
Well, okay, so I'm trying to, I would like to move the court forward under my authority. And the last thing that was entered by myself was a response to their motion to dismiss, reiterating, that's what I sent you.
You got to knock them out of the box. I don't argue with them. I told you what I did with mine. When they try to talk to attorneys, all the people who have big mouths who are on camera saying they're going to put me in a box. I'm a sob sit. I'm this, that, and the third, taking guns off my side, charging me, all the rest of it. I told them, you're going to see me again. I don't argue with their attorney. You had no problem talking and walking that day. So now you're going to talk and walk at court. And I'm giving you an extended version of the idea of, it's very simple. When we move this court, nobody without firsthand knowledge is going to bear witness and testify. Any man or woman who tries to enter anything onto this record with no firsthand knowledge is stricken from the record. You're not going to talk through attorneys. You're not going to have him put in dismissals and play legalese, policy, and code game. No, that's over. We did that. We tried it your way. You put me in a box 2 days. I got the dismissal at that side. Now I'm suing you. And guess what? I didn't use their form, so I'm moving to court. It's my court. It's her court. And you're going to do as we say. I don't need to know process and procedure. I know that guy right there did wrong. I know he did subversion and sedition. I know he overthrew the law of the land. I know he interfered with property and rights and a whole bunch of other things that carries a hefty fucking fine and penalty, punitive damages and all the rest of it.
20 years in prison or death by hanging. Should we get into it? I don't need to cite their code to know common sense. What you did is an egregious violation of any kind of law of any land, telling a man or a woman what we're going to do because you got a costume on, Mr. Service Provider. So you talk then, you're going to talk now. Anyone without firsthand knowledge who wasn't there is using hearsay and entering hearsay onto the court. You don't get any status and standing and equity and interest in this matter. Just like they'll say to me if I show up at court and I don't assert myself and put a claim on record, they're going to say, we don't recognize man at this court. You got no status and standing or say in this matter. They're going to tell you, sit down and shut up while we put in claims on your behalf and say whether you're guilty or innocent or not. And you're lucky if we don't put you in a box for 6 months. Well, guess what? At my court, we're going to do it the same way. I don't recognize persons. I don't recognize corporate procedure and policy. I don't recognize attorneys. You got no firsthand knowledge with me of what went on. Let's go. Bring someone who's got it, or you're going to talk for yourself. You're going to indict yourself. You're going to bear witness and testimony, and then you're going to a box. Or you're going to have to fucking pay me. Buku bucks, as they used to say.
Okay, so I need to strike their motions from the record because they don't have firsthand knowledge and they're attempting to enter hearsay on the record.
Like I said, I don't need to argue with them and address them to address the court in general, my court, and whoever the functionaries of my court is, as the claimant, the only one here with equity and interest, status and standing in this matter. Everyone else is there to be part of a co-creation with me, to interpret the complicated facts of the matter of law. So that's at best what we have going on there. I'm the head of the totem pole, right? Or the base, because I guess with the totem pole, it goes in reverse. So I'm the base, I'm the foundation. I am the government of and by and for the people of this land. So when I put a claim in and it gets recognized and we start moving, everyone else is a functionary of my court, essentially. So I'm not addressing that other side because what we have is a disembodied voice or a disembodied a presentment. You will swear in who it's a generalized statement to the world. Any man or woman who comes forward to put anything on the record at this court must have firsthand knowledge of the facts of the matter. If they're trying to move on hearsay, they are not recognized at this court. I don't recognize persons, servants, agents, or anything else that's disembodied off the record trying to get on the record. You want on the record firsthand knowledge from the beginning of time. This is foundational process and procedure. Okay? And you're going to swear in and you're going to bear witness and testimony to the facts you're going to put on record that you have firsthand knowledge of it and that's what you witnessed, or you're going to enter evidence, recorded or otherwise. If you ain't got that, you have no status and standing and no recognition at this court. That would be my claim to all the functionaries of this court and how we're going to move this court and prosecute this case. And it makes perfect fucking sense. You think I'm going to let every jerk off and their brother in with a suit and tie who may know whoever and whatever and let them run their pimp game in there and double talk and double speak and use their 15 years of code experience and civil procedure experience to run me ragged with process and procedure? It ain't happening because you're most likely full of shit anyway, and we all know it. You think they don't know it? Oh, yeah, I know. Everybody who's part of the legal society takes an oath to be upstanding and honorable. Yeah, right. And they'll do anything they can to avoid accountability and responsibility. That's why they open LLCs and they call them limited liability. Nobody wants any liability. No one wants responsibility. No one wants accountability. Not with me. Not as long as I'm living and breathing. We're going to take this real slow and simple. First-hand knowledge, all facts of the matter entered on this record must be sworn in, bear witness and testimony by first-hand knowledge. Any second-hand knowledge is hearsay and is stricken from the record, not admissible. And I don't recognize any persons either. Man or woman will come forth in their original and supernatural form, natural form, to bear witness and testimony. We're not going to hide behind a limited liability corporate status. We're not going to hide behind a persona, which means masks in Latin. We're not going to act in the capacity of state actor. They use these terms for a reason. So you're done, just like I did in my case. We'll see where it goes. The administrator's going to come in and interpret the complicated facts of the matter of law,
And then I'm going to either continue to enter on the record how that person's incompetent and incapable and potentially sue them and hold them accountable, or I will accept the supposed ruling that doesn't change the facts of the matter or the fact that I can make my own ruling on the case. And so can God, for that matter. So you want to come in here and play games? You want to say none of it happened? You want to throw it out and dismiss it? Watch when God in the universe strikes your fucking house down with lightning, like they told Michael Corleone one day. You know, if a bolt of lightning hits the administrator, someone's going to take offense at this court. Yeah, the universe has a way of working things out. God works in mysterious ways. So the judgment's always going to be cast, right? The die is going to be cast. The judgment will be made here or hereafter. We already know what happened because the facts are all on record, you know? So where it goes in my case remains to be seen. Does it affect the outcome at all? Not really. Does every door that's closed lead to 2 more doors that open? Potentially. And I'll take it from there and I'll update folks as we move forward, you know? But again, a lot of this stuff to me would be common sense. A lot of this stuff to me is foundational principles. A lot of this stuff is you could be on the street and never hit a court a day in your life and it still makes sense. Oh, Shonda and Shaniqua says that I say that this, that, and the third. No, bring them in and have them tell me in front of my face and everybody and my peers what the fuck I said and did. You better make it good because I got video of something that shows the opposite, right? This is common sense. We're not going to talk gossip and drama and hearsay and all the extras. We're going to keep it real or we're going to get gone because we got other shit to do.
Okay, badass. Then I know what the next thing I'm going to enter in the court. And I mean, the foundation of my case is iffy because, you know, I cited their definitions and their codes, but I only cited them so that they would understand.
Right, that's called correlation, not citing. At that point, you cite your conviction and your experience, right? And then you put a box on the paper and you put their crap. You put their crap to where if you want to play the game of so you guys can understand the way I understand your crap, they know. You could just cite your conviction and your experience and keep it so simple and stupid it'd be crazy. They know what you're doing. And they can correlate their own citations of the code and the precedent and all the rest of it or not because there's a dual jurisdiction. This is the thing. While I appreciate that and while I've done that, I will correlate what I cite with. What I cite has to be my resource. Like I tell DeCastro, stop quoting John Paul Robespierre. Stop quoting Bouvier. Stop quoting all these people. That's hoe behavior. That's the lowest form of spiritual streetwise language I could give you is that's hoe behavior. Hoes talk about what other men say and do. Men don't do that. When a man's got his own experience and his own motion, he cites his own experience and his own motion. He didn't say, 1,500 years ago, John Robespierre taught me how to be a man. That's not how that works. So everyone wants to be smart. They want to be brainiacs. They want to be accepted by the legal society. So they get thrashed by the legal society because you use their crap. You're one of them. So at best, correlate. Why you feel you need to correlate unless they ask you. And then at that point, you're basically then pretty much going to say, listen, you guys are the experts in legalese and legal policy. I don't know nothing about that. The little bit I do know is what I'm saying correlates with this. Do you agree? It doesn't even matter if they agree or not. Them and their language and their society is not me, my language and my society. Have you not noticed? I'm going to smoke dope, do broadcasts, curse, say the N-word. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I'm not part of the legal society. I'm not part of white America. I have no contracts. I get no official technical income. Whether I create value here and there or trip over and fall and come up with something, that's a different idea. I am not as much as possible in their system. I don't speak their language. I don't walk, talk, dress, or act like them. So why would I attempt to try to speak their language when I walk in there? It's very simple. You know who and what I am. You know I'm Shrek on the edge of town. You know this attorney is one of these jackasses following behind me, trying to question me and thinks that he knows better. I'm the one who's got to save the princess at some point and fight the dragon. Don't matter how I look and how I sound. I'm the real deal. So I don't have to be like you. The fact that I'm not like you gives me more of a standing in my case. You're better off going in there in a fucking dashiki, like one of those Moors with the big fez, the big purple furry hat, and a dashiki. You know, they've done it with me every time. When I used to wear a hat, New York baseball hat, you know, one of the things you pick up, sort of the fashion statements, right? They try to get you to remove your hat when you walk in there. It's a game. They're trying to get you to admit that you're part of their society some way, somehow. It's the first thing the court clerk's going to try to do to get jurisdiction over you. Going to say, could you do me a favor, Paulie boy? Could you just be reasonable and remove your hat? Because when we come in here, everyone who's part of this has to do X, Y, Z. Oh, okay. And you think you're being nice, kind, and polite. You're giving them jurisdiction. You wouldn't tell a Jew to take his little hat off. You wouldn't tell a Muslim to take his fucking kufi off. So why are you telling me? Because ultimately, when you wear a head covering and certain attire, it differentiates you from their society. It makes it a little bit more difficult to presume that you're one of them. You guys don't understand how much of this is just common sense that you think I'm Dunning-Krugered out, that I've learned to accept is part of common sense. It's from the beginning of time. They go, how are we going to get this guy in jurisdiction? He's walking around in a dashiki and a yarmulke. How do we get him under our secular Christian, non-Christian ethos, Catholicism, whatever you want to call it, Jesuit rites, R-I-T-E-S. How do we get him under it? Well, just ask him to be reasonable. You know, ask him to be reasonable and maybe remove his head covering so that we can presume he's one of us. Because the oldest fundamental understanding in the book is if you ain't part of our society, we can't put punitive damages and consequences onto you. This goes back to prison logic. A lot of this shit is archetypal. They go whites with whites, blacks with blacks, browns with browns so that we can keep order. Because if we mix up ethnicities and cultures, sometimes different colors can ride with other colors based on the culture and the gang affiliation and all the rest of it. Right? The point is, blacks can't discipline whites. Whites can't discipline blacks. If you're not part of our society, we can't impose obligations onto you. We can't impose duties onto you. And we can't impose punishments on you for not adhering to those duties and obligations. Only your own people can do that. So that the game that they play is they get everybody in jurisdiction by getting you guys trained at institutions and listening to all these people on Law and Order on TV and start talking their fucking language and using their words. So you put yourself in their jurisdiction. They can now impose obligations and responsibilities and duties onto you, and they can impose sanctions or consequences for misdemeanors. Your demeanor wasn't what we said it should be, so now we're going to impose a punishment. It's what happens when you get applications and forms and you go for their services and benefits and privileges, and you get you see the way they all jump on you. Go somewhere and make an appointment with a doctor or somebody and see if you don't get 5 phone calls for them to try to get you insurance, get you signed up, get you some benefits and privileges, get you to give them your social security number that you're not supposed to give anybody. It says it right on the damn card to not give it to any corporations or not use it as ID. And you go giving it out and then wonder why when you go on that NIC system, whatever they call it, there's a system, the QSIP system. Every one of these people has 10 different contracts taken out where they got a account somewhere with money in them because they took all your information and did banking with it. You know, so this is like, it gets deep, it gets crazy. I'm sure you know a lot of this, Hefe. I'm just giving this for the benefit of some new folks here from what I've learned and what I've seen
For sure.
over time. And how deep it goes. But on the most basic day-to-day, most shallow level, a lot of this shit is common sense. I'm a man. I'm under God, whatever you want to say that is. You know, I have rights from my creator. And all of you folks are defined as service providers by your own codes. You've defined yourself as service providers. So if I don't need any benefits and privileges and services, we don't have nothing to talk about. And I'm really not going to do too much arguing or resisting or all the rest of it. I'm just going to put it on record. Hey, thanks for your offer to provide me some service here today. I don't wish to engage in the services that you're offering. What I do wish or require is that I and or my property be restored to its original location and condition, unless you bring forward a man or a woman who has a valid verified claim that I've done loss, injury, or harm, or owe a debt. I don't really have much to say before or after that. And I'm not really even going to say it unless I get the wink and the nod that the administrator is going to let me run court, which most of the time in my experiences, they let it ride. It may just be because of how I speak, and they're kind of interested to hear more. And because I don't take up too much of their time and I don't say shit that doesn't make any sense. You got like you got like half a second beat in between everything, and you better get it out quick, and it better be something that catches their interest and reminds them of something that they learned day one when they were getting taught law before they started going into process and procedure. You start with this living man on the land shit and all this, that, and the third. They don't give a fuck. They're a sovereign citizen. And if you don't come back half a second with thank you for the offer for immunities and privileges for sovereignty while being a citizen, but let's be clear, I'm not a sovereign. God is a sovereign. I don't make law. I interpret the law just as you do, in or out of uniform. And I'm only a citizen of the blank family and or, whatever your lifestyle sort of choice is. So everything they say, like back in middle school, they used to say, Paul, you should grow up and be a lawyer. Why? Because I always got an answer to your non-answers? Because I always got a rebuttal to your fucking nonsense? Because I'm always able to make clarity out of you muddying the waters to try to label and play power games? Yeah. It's not what they call you. It's what you answer to and how you answer and what you give them back to let them go sit on it.
Well, I was pretty excited when the court accepted my document in my court, because I didn't follow their procedures with the filing of documents, and it got put on the record. So that was
right, but they already proved you don't know what you're doing, and we already know that. That's why you're getting experience, and that's why you're here with me, because the more you do this, the more you're going to get your own experience, and the more you're going to learn, for better or for worse, what's actually happening and how to navigate. So do you think if I walk in there at this point, because they did it with her recently, they did it for 2 weeks with her because she was handling the administration of the case, and she doesn't know what she needs to know, or if she does, she's not willing to pimp to a certain degree. So I told her, what did you say? Oh, I told them that this is what I had. What did she say? Oh, they told me we couldn't. Oh, but what happened? Oh, it says on the paper we could. Did you accept that? Did you go for that? Did you let that fly? Or did you say, what you're saying is making no sense. It doesn't have to, because now I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, and it makes sense to do it this way. If you have any problem, get back to me, but it shouldn't be an issue. Bye. You talk to them like we're professional at work and you're the boss. Because you are, of and by and for the people. You don't need to be nasty. You don't need to be rude. The less rude and nasty you are, but straight to the point you are, the more they're going to respect you and do what the fuck you say. Because they're going to bring it back to someone behind them who's had 20 years experience, and they're going to go, I don't know who that Jennifer was, but this guy, the white gorilla over here, he knows how to mac and pimp. He's not going to accept anything less, and he knows proper process and procedure. He knows common sense. We can't get him caught up. We can't deny what he's saying. We can't double talk him. Can't bullshit him. And we can't get him out of character either. We can't get him to call us a bunch of fat, goofy bitches back here, because I don't do that, none of that either. Very sweet, nice, kind of polite, but straight to the point, unwavering, and based on common sense.
Yeah, I know my next move. I'm going to make sure that their hearsay is not, or it's stricken from the record, because there's no
right, but don't argue with them. Don't go at them. Don't challenge them. Just act as if there's no one else in the room other than you, and that some creature, or you heard something come through the window. Someone shouting they're going to do a dismissal. I don't know who or what that is. I wouldn't even address it. Like, I didn't even address, there was 5 attorneys who tried to enter in stuff into my case to clog it up with their crap. I didn't even address any of them. All we put down is, oh, by the way, from here on out, or retroactively, any man or woman who comes into this case has to have firsthand knowledge and swear in and bear witness and testimony. Any being who comes in any capacity other than man or woman to bear witness and testimony to firsthand knowledge facts is not admissible. We don't recognize none of that. I don't have to address any of them to address all of them without addressing none of them. All I did was make everything they're saying irrelevant in my mind, in the mind of anyone else who uses common sense and knows proper process and procedure, in the mind of anyone else who knows these people are all full of shit and they're all swine.
Right,
if they
yeah,
want to be, they're all good faith and honorable if they want to be, like all of us.
I didn't want to even try and address their arguments. That's one of the reasons that they had for dismissal was I didn't address their arguments. I'm not going to address their arguments because they don't have any firsthand knowledge.
It's like a spouse. I don't care how much I love my spouse. I'm not addressing her nonsense beyond a certain point. You got complaints. You got this. You got that. Go get a sewing circle going. Go complain to other bitches. I got shit to do. One of the things is to live the rest of my life as much as peace as possible. So I'm not interested. I'm interested in the real shit. What matters? What needs to be done? You know, what is relevant to the experience. All the extras and the rest of the shit, go take that somewhere else where they waste time with all the extras and the nonsense.
Basically, everything that they have technically put in on the record is nothing. It's not there. And I don't have to recognize it, just like they're claiming they don't have to recognize me.
Right. Pick up on the game. That's the game they're playing. And it only works because it makes sense. They go, if you're going to claim to be a man, then you shouldn't be arguing with us anyway, because we're all going to have our beliefs over here. There's dual jurisdiction for a reason. You could lose everything on one side and win everything on the other side. If you would stop giving power and energy and attention to the other side and making it real and bringing life to it. It's just like an argument with a woman who's acting like a girl instead of being a woman. You think I'm going to address a whole bunch of extra nonsense and hallucinations and bring life to it? No, I'm not going to go down the list and argue every one of your delusions and hallucinations and distortions. I'm going to tell you generally, anything that's not firsthand and isn't factually proven that we can have a meeting of the minds on is just, it's not recognized to me. It's nonsense. So when they're in legalese mode and they're trying to case from one side and they want to see where you're at, you start arguing with them, you start buying into the code, you know? It's like I'm going to sit there and argue with my wife what she saw checking out at the store because Oprah said she found a new woman's code on how a man should live. What? You think I'm going to spend 3 seconds arguing with you about Oprah's code that you saw going somewhere to somewhere about how a man should be? I am a man. If you wanted to know, you should have came and asked me, not Oprah. Maybe you should go ask Barack Obama's wife too. Sorry. We don't need to go there. You get my point, right? The analogy is somewhat sound. So complaint is synonymous to nagging wife. I'm not interested in complaints. I'm not interested in all the rest of their language and lingo that amounts to nothing. I'm interested, if anything, in the facts of the matter and how rights have been interfered with, or property, because they're one and the same, has been interfered with. Who has a claim, actual status and standing, interest and equity in the matter? The rest of this is just nonsense and talk. You guys are state acting. You got a performance to put on. Have at it. Because on the other side, you know I'm not wrong. You know I'm not guilty. You know nobody's shown up, and I'm not giving you any time, energy, attention, or life. I've not validated your nonsense. This is where this goes on all day, every day. A woman could say, with her and her friends, you violated every code in the book. But as a man, she's got to respect it because you stood on something. You could be guilty and innocent at the same time. Now, how she's going to judge that and how she's going to act and how you're going to react is two different things. You think courting is any different than courting? It's not. And most men fail at both because they're not willing to honor who and what they are and be authentic and stand on their position, be responsible and accountable, and have a rap that makes fucking sense and make her feel it. The courting and courting is no difference, right? This is why I say the whole world is pimping and hoeing. We just don't know it because it's inherent hierarchical power and value dynamics. You will get the way better than your way, right? Is the way if you stand on the truth and do the next right thing and you're communicative and you're accurate and factual and you work in trust, equity, and faith. If you got a partner in that endeavor, we're going to get somewhere here. It would seem to me.
Right on, man. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna enter some more.
I gotta answer some questions because they're judging me real quick. Paul, what do you do for a living? You're looking at it. Next. Does he practice a craft, a skill, or work at all? Why do I have to substantiate any of that to you? Why does it matter? I'm here doing what I'm doing here. Okay. What I do away from here in other places is known by some or many, or maybe not so much, and doesn't need to be. You want to make a judgment on how valuable I am? Really going to go down this road? Really going to go down the road of Paul, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't work, he has no value to a community? Are we kidding? In case you're wondering, what I'm doing here is essentially a full-time job. If you think there's not people at times who are hitting me up privately, wanting to work on things, wanting help, I don't even give as much time, energy, attention as I probably should or could, because I've had disease and other things come up. But what I do here with rights and freedom and the law and all the rest of it is thousands of hours in, bud. Privately and publicly. It's literally a full-time job. So that's not an excuse or a justification, because I've said here since I started doing this and had to work in other capacities, it's less work. It's more a labor of love. It's based in purpose and what I believe is true and what's right. So to me, it's not necessarily work. But to anyone else who put on a suit every day and a tie and go to bullshit and lie to everybody, this would be 2-3 full-time jobs. Just to show up for myself and others the way I do 7 days a week and do a broadcast is a full-time job. When you have other things going on in your life, and I don't really have much going on. So I'm not like victiming, I'm not complaining. And I've said many times I probably should do more in other areas. All right. So what am I doing at this point? Pretty much more of an investment idea. My time, energy, attention, and resources in various things to create more value in various forms. So I guess you could say God and the people working together have given me the freedom to do such at this time.
Hey, one of the things that I've been doing as a crafter skill, not that I'm answering this guy's question, but just because you made me think of it, I started painting. You know, just like random stuff. But here's one I was working on. This guy right here actually looks like Brian O'Shea. See that?
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool.
A little bit. Yeah. They're supposed to be like wise men. I don't know, smoking the pipe, right? It's not done yet, but I was just doing that. Here's another one I did. Trying to you know, create some creativity and stuff. Here's another one. It's the last one I did. That's a Ford Torino. And I don't need.
That reminds me, I got a guy who sent in a video to my email, and I would play it and I want to play it, but I don't, because it's about the creature that shall not be named. And I'm kind of in a mode, at least today, if not more recently, of just not giving much time, energy, attention to these other folks, these other panels and broadcasts that are like doing nothing and going nowhere. It's kind of demeaned and devalued some of what I believe I have to offer here, or what I could bring here. And while I have fun with it, and you know, we may have an endearment toward these people, it's just taken up a bit too much of my time, energy, attention on this broadcast at times. So, you know, I have my cycles like the sun, right? The sun gets close, it gets hot, it gets bright, it moves away, it gets a bit colder and distant. It's part of my biorhythms and nothing else. I've learned that about me. But I'm kind of in that mode, in that phase of like, there's certain folks, you know, I'm even too sort of forgiving and at times and open to receive again more than I probably should be, because you see what happened the other day. I let Taylor back in here, slow state, right? You can't help but to try to grift and be desperate, pathetic, and it's just it's an icky, creepy vibe, right? And that's kind of what you get from all these folks. So I'd like to play the video because it's a bit funny and humorous, but ultimately I just don't want to give any more time, energy, attention to these folks, because then they take it as an open door policy to like just jump in and out of my life and my broadcast and try to use me and grift off me and suck off me and parasite. And then they want to like demean me and try to hate on me and shit on me. So it's bizarre, right? I'm not really into it. But maybe send it to me again in like 6 months. Maybe I'll do my usual loop, as I'm known for. What were you saying, Hefe?
I was just gonna say that I don't need anybody else to give me validation on this, you know, the art or the skills or the crafts that I do. You know, I'm doing it for me. It's It's for my own benefit.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you love to do so that you can get good at what you love to do, and then at some point be successful in what you love to do that you've gotten good at, that brings value to other people, right? That is an aspect, it would seem to me, of the American dream. You know? So I'm not somebody who's like, I try to hit the middle ground in most things. I'm not a commie collectivist who thinks nobody should work, right? Like I'm very much, and have, especially in the beginning of this, was working part-time, actual work, if you want to call this or whatever else I do not work, door dashing. Well, even that's not considered work by some people. Working construction, door dashing, and then broadcasting and doing content at different times of the day. So I'm very much a middle grounder in the sense of you got to make a living for yourself some way, somehow, unless you're going to go live in the forest like some forest nymph like Brian O'Shea. You're going to pull your Lumina up to the forest, kind of trot around, dance around in a Tarzan outfit, swing from vine to vine, and live off the land that way. If you're not going to live that way and you can't get that done, well, then everyone's kind of got to work to some degree to generate the coupons for value to get what they need. If you're not going to create it or build it, and you don't have a guy where stuff falls off a truck every other day, that's pretty much what we've all agreed on, right? It doesn't mean that you can't pursue what you're good at, what you love to do, work a dream. It's kind of this and that, right? That's part of time, energy, attention, resource management. Is like, hey, I'm going to work 4 hours a day so I can pursue my dream 4 hours a day, but that means I'm going to have to eat tuna fish and, cheese sandwiches like Paulie Boy for a year straight till you get gallstones. I didn't have to do that. I kind of chose to do it. Why? Because I'm insane, I guess some might say. But yeah, that's the struggle, right? That's the sacrifice. That's the commitment. That's the consequence. That's the management of your time, energy, attention, and resources. I'm still going to work to not be a bum loser. And then I'm going to do without in certain ways because I'm going to take the extra 4 hours a day instead of working an 8-hour job. I'm going to work part-time and pursue my passions and my dream for the other 4 hours. Something's going to hit at some point if you live like that for X amount of days straight. Something's going to hit, something's going to fire you up, something's going to inspire you. It's a move to a move, and then you're going to find your position in life, so to speak, within yourself and within life. That's just my experience, and I've seen it with other folks.
Yeah, here's a couple more.
Yeah, I mean, you got something, man. You definitely got some talent.
And there's one. You got me thinking about trees. You're always like, I need trees, man.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, yeah.
Look at this spot. I'm a little bit reticent to show it because you know that there's a bunch of loser, failure, jealous, envious, whack job haters on here who you never know. Like most of them are cowardly and never wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight, as they used to say. But you never know. They get jealous and envious and hating enough. They might try to show up in between their homelessness and lack of purpose and no job and no career and no values or principles. They might show up and try to burn something down or start a wildfire by accident. But I got a couple pictures here where we're going to be at. Okay, this is. I'll give you a little bit. You can see a little. I'll give you a little bit. Yeah, Brian O'Shea.
That Oregon?
You can't really see. Yeah, it's Southern Oregon.
Hell
But yeah, they're saying 300 days of sunlight. It does get fairly cold, But 300 days of sunlight, if they come through on that. I was there for about 3-4 days a week or two ago, and there was sun every day. So it looks like a decent environment. It's pretty peaceful out there. They got a decent community up there. Those who aren't tweakers keep telling me there's tweakers and what do you call it? Squatters. And I go, yeah, you should see my panel.
Everywhere,
that's just Jack Talcott.
No, see, I was just talking to my friend the other day. It's like, you would expect if you leave the city, you're going to avoid all the tweakers, but the tweakers, they're going out to the country to do their devious acts, right? So, The tweakers.
I really don't care. Yeah, I don't mind it. Like up where you live, all those places I looked, they all got this rap everywhere you go. It doesn't matter if it's Arizona, Oregon, everywhere is. And then they do this thing too. They don't know who they're talking to, and they just say shit. They go, I don't know if you want to go up there. That's where all the off-gridders live. And I go, do you want to tell them like who and what I am? You can't get the hint, you know? It's interesting. They must think I'm one of them as time goes on.
Yeah, I just bought a battery, a big ass battery and an inverter. So I'll be able to run tools and get hot water. Yeah, I'm pumped about that.
What is this? Why is it some of you like can't help but to like hate and keep hating? Like you did the initial hating. We all saw you. And then you get your answers and you keep going and going. What is it you want other than to get thrown out of here so then you can pretend that you were too righteous for the venue? Look, he controlled me and did tyranny on me and threw me out. I was just too factually correct and righteous for the venue. Like, hit the link, come on up here, interact. If you got questions, comments, concerns, I'm open to it. If you got some kind of beef, put it forth. If you wanna critique me, I'm one of the few people on these broadcasts who opens the place up regularly for you folks to say and do whatever you want about me and with me. Then I give you my response and I throw you out and we move on. Why are you not taking that opportunity and then filling the chat box like some kind of secretary? You know, we don't need stenographers and secretaries. We need real men and women who can walk and talk and chew gum at the same time, if possible. If not, just shut up and watch and listen and be part of it or move on. All right, just keep doom scrolling onto the next slave who's going to do like yoga and breathe into the microphone, you know, put spit bubbles on the microphone to put you to sleep.
I'm trying to have
like two Percocet. Guy's on two Percocet. He wants ASMR, right? Or he wants to tell me that I'm not shit. Okay.
Paul, why can't we have a convention? Why don't we have a convention, you know, where we have people who have written books speak and all that, right?
Oh yeah, like your boy, the guy who he shows up here, tries to be semi-professional, and then goes 6 beers deep the next night. He goes, convention. Why don't we do a convention, John? I don't want a convention. I'm not doing a convention. We already have a confederation of dunces. We don't need a convention. We need conviction. We need a bunch of convicted men and women, not that way, right? But convicted in their mind and heart to do what's true and what's right and sort of be the modern day refounding fathers to make America great again. That's what I think the universe, and I know I and others here are like kind of looking either for or to be. More importantly, to be, not looking for, to be that. Everything else is kind of white noise at this point. You know, who you're voting for, what, you know, where you got your cabin up by the lake, your bullshit family, all the rest of it. It's white noise to me at this point. I go, there's a clear-cut set of understandings and applications and results and circumstances and all the rest of it that we have to look at and address and be part of. For me, from what I'm seeing. If you don't resonate with that, then you're not going to resonate with me and what I'm doing, especially if you don't appreciate my sense of humor, or I guess, or lack thereof at times, you know, or my ability to just kind of go off on an ADHD philosophical, at times nonsensical rant and ramble. I love you. Thank you, Jordison. Jordison loves me. That's all that matters. Brian O'Shea loves me, and Jordison loves me. And that's what I tell myself. Those dark, cold nights. I don't know why I do what I do. All I did is ask an honest question, and now everyone is having an aneurysm. Okay, I got that. We got that. You asked an honest question. This place is a cult. Everyone victimized you because we're trying to hide the truth that you're like getting to with your super sleuthing. Can I get the question again? This guy, for the purposes of the broadcast, not in life, but for the purpose of this broadcast, this guy's the only one who matters. Because you're saying stuff to me. You want an answer from me. It doesn't matter what the rest of folks have said to you. You're not going to stop down there till you have an interaction with me. So apparently, according to you, I'm the only one that matters. Why are you arguing with people in the chat? I'm here. I addressed you. What's the question? I'll answer it, and then we can get away from my cult, because this is always what you guys do. This is the power game. My cult is a little rowdy. They don't like when you guys come in here and ask stupid questions, or questions you know the answer to because you want to play gotcha games with me. So they kind of have seen it 1,000 times before, so they cut you off at the pass because they want to keep me from looping, right? I opened an asylum here, and I'm the leader of the asylum. The only problem is I'm also a patient at the asylum. So my fellow underlings / equals in whatever this experience is, they want to keep you from looping with me and me from looping with you because they've seen this 100 times before. They go, Paulie's going to come out into the day room. He's not going to have any pants on. He's going to get up on the table, do a great speech, inspire us. We're going to go on with the rest of our day and drink coffee that's made with someone's urine because we're at an asylum. This is what goes on in an asylum. You know, Earth Inc. And they're like, please don't let the new guy in to the day room because he's going to start asking Paulie Boy questions. We just want to get the semi-looping speech with no pants on to inspire us to go on with the rest of our day. Don't let him loop with him because you know what he's going to do. And invariably it happens. I catch you out of the corner of my eye and I go, you there, sir, off to the side in the middle of my speech on the table. What is it you're saying? What are you asking? And they go, oh no, here he goes. I may have to turn Brian O'Shea loose on you people. He's waiting patiently. You know, he's chomping at the bit. It's been a while since he's gone off on everyone. I could use it. Okay, he's got a question. There it is. 1 second, Brian O'Shea. I'm going to answer his question, then I'm going to turn you loose on everyone. How does Paul DoorDash without a driver's license? Oh, man, that was a great question. Well, to be technical, I wasn't doing the door dashing. I was passenger dashing. And by dashing, I mean kind of rolling out of the small Toyota that I was in because I'm rather large. So I was riding shotgun, as I'm known to do, as they make fun of me for at times. And I had a buddy who had a slave license to do commerce. And at that point, he used it legitimately because we were doing commerce on the roadways. Some might argue. So he would drive and I would jump in and out when we were on Denver. I would do imagine me being the legs of the operation. But yeah, I would jump out and kind of go up and down the condos and wherever else. And we would split the proceeds. So yeah, that wasn't too difficult. That wasn't complicated. We got down to it. There was a time where I worked as a valet without a license. But that was a while ago. I was on New York at that point. You can get anything done on New York. You want a valet? You don't have a license? Doesn't matter. This guy smokes crack. He's valeting. I mean, you know, it's all relative here. Like, do you need a license to valet? Do you really? No, you don't. I was one of the better valets. Everyone else had a license and they constantly were hitting shit in between stealing shit. So if I did steal, it was like the first couple times till I realized I didn't like it and I didn't want to get caught stealing like pocket change because it's kind of embarrassing. If you're going to steal, go big, you know, was my logic at the time. Even while being a heroin addict, I'm like, this is where I work. I could take like 50 cents from every car. Is this really how I want to live? That was when I started to have a change apart. I realized that maybe I wanted to like somewhat care about what I was doing and have a reputation and be in service, you know? But yeah, license doesn't necessarily mean that you're competent and capable. We've proven that. DoorDash banned me. Yeah, Uber banned me at one point because some loser, like they all do. I had a 300. I should pull it up. I had an almost perfect rating on service because at this point I actually cared about myself and doing good service and like wanting to change what I was seeing as a problem with nobody wanting to serve or like do their job. So I went above and beyond. And wouldn't you know it, some loser found out that I wasn't the official person on the driving thing because it shows up when they're coming. It shows on some of them. It shows who you are. So like I show up with the food and they go, "You're not Clayton," and I go, "Yeah, he's the driver. I work with him." They reported me. I go, "How is that a negative thing?" I go, "You see me like because sometimes you would get the same people. Like if you work the same areas, you get a lot of the same people because they eat the same garbage day in and day out. They want you to bring it to them because they're lazy, fat slaves. So it's like, I'm here on time. I'm faster than everyone else. My rating is impeccable. And you're going to report me because I'm technically officially not the guy who signed up. And I got reported a second time for mask slavery at the time. So Uber, gave us the notice. Hey, we realize you're using more than one person who's not officially on our records. You're not wearing your slave mask. 86 does. DoorDash is like, they're street people. They don't give a fuck. You can report all day. They're not. Then the complaint department's closed. So like anything, man, there's the people who care too much about all the wrong shit, and then there's the people who don't give a fuck at all about that. Like they just want the shit there quick, without your fingers in it. Still hot, everything on time, and you being professional and legitimate. Which that's the way it should be. That's how America should be. I don't give a fuck if you have licenses or anything else. It doesn't mean nothing to me. Are you good at what you do? Is everyone getting sick from what you have? If not, if you're on time and you got a good product and you really care, that's, I thought, what made us great here, right? It wasn't the licenses. It wasn't the registrations. It wasn't the accreditations from an institution. Go on, Brian O'Shea. Go off on these fucking people if you want to do it. I know you're waiting to do it.
Yeah, I'm going off on Sam Tripoli, dude. What a bitch-ass grifting loser. Doesn't do shit on the ground. Paul's turning his camera up. Doesn't want to be fucking involved in this. No, I go on Reddit. Yeah, go to Reddit. Find out what my fucking page is. Backstage. Dude, I'm going to go through. I hit up Brendan Schaub in his comments, tagging Paul, calling them all fucking bitches, dude. Fuck all these people, dude. Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura. Bunch of fucking grifting, don't stand for shit. Fucking losers, dude. And they got nothing. Who's that other guy?
Deceivers, too.
Who's that other idiot?
Joe Rogan denies the moon land. Or no, he used to deny the moon landing. Then he switched back on it. It's because they got to him. I mean, he was already got
idiots, dude. They're materialistic. They have no spirituality.
How about what's the other dude? The jiu-jitsu dude.
Bravo.
Eddie Bravo. Yeah. What about him?
Yeah, Eddie Bravo, he'd be the closest to fucking maybe come around. He's crazy in his own way, like all of us, but yeah, they're all fucking idiots, dude. They fucking all have plates. They all submit, comply, and obey. Who knows what they did to be able to travel on these flights to go to their fucking shows? How many of them took vaccine? They ain't shit. They're not fucking shit. They fucking suck, dude. And who the fuck is going to come in the room with one of us and outshine us or have the power position? Whether it's a courtroom or any of one of these fucks.
O'Shea's going off the rails now.
Who the fuck is going to do it?
See what I do? I create monsters here.
Sitting with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's going to be in a power position. I'm going to be like, oh my God, I'm on Joe Rogan. No, it's going to be the same thing as if you came on this panel. It's like, what are you doing, Joe? You ain't shit. You don't stand for shit.
You would get starstruck if Joe Rogan was here doing back kicks.
Fuck Joe Rogan, dude. What a fucking short fucking loser, dude. I'll fucking get to him. What a fucking idiot, dude.
I mean, this is kind of you're going off the rails to where and now I'm getting a mirror of what I must look and sound like sometimes, but this is the mode you get into when you realize there's so much that we're supposed to be doing here just because it's true and what's right that the rest of folks are not ever going to lean into or look into because they think that that's all that life is. So it's almost disappointing. It's like they say, don't ever meet the people you respect or the people that are supposedly heroes and idols because you'll be disappointed. Like when you finally start living for real purpose and meaning and this rights and freedom, spiritual faith shit and all the rest of it, actualizing and realizing you don't look up to these people anymore. And that's kind of what it, I guess, should be. You come out of the cult, right? There's no more anybody's a star, right? There's we're living into the truth and the light, the way, which is where the true value and power comes from. Everything else is a lesser sort of modality.
They're in and of the world.
You just stop caring. Just stops mattering. Stops having. There was never any meaning to begin with, and when you find true meaning, it exposes how meaningless all these people, places, and things and activities really are. It's not to say there isn't a place for martial arts. Like you're talking about all guys who would kick my ass in 3 seconds, physically. But when we get to the other realm, right? the conscious and awareness and standing for something and leaving a legacy beyond just being a talk show host and doing back kicks, there's nothing there. And that's not a testament to how great I am. That's a testament to how lacking the majority is, and how we're all too willing to give our time, energy, attention, money, and therefore power away to a bunch of idol worshipped empty suits. You know, there's nothing changed from the old Hollywood to the new Hollywood. You just got a bunch of folks tap dancing, shucking and jiving for a paycheck. You want to see them talk about this and what about mushrooms and DMT and the shape of the planet and all this, and then what? So when you go to the other side of things and you realize that's where all the real true thing is, that's where the real power and value is, that's where the actualization and realization is, this shit starts to be shown for what it really is: purposeless and meaningless and ultimately valueless. You're going to listen to Joe Rogan with 1,000 times the cancer rate and the chemtrails and the policy and code and the fascism and statism? Who gives a fuck? And that even goes for people who I actually really like. Joey Diaz is someone who I resonate with. He's New York, you know, he's comedy, you know, he's a lot of things that as a personality I identify with or resonate with, you know, but there's always that other component that once you open that door up in your life, you realize how lacking the majority is, you know, and it can be a bit disappointing and disheartening at times. But that's why, like the man says, we got our own thing going here. It's different from the majority of the rest. It doesn't matter if they got 1 million people and $1 billion and content, non-tent. Who are they and what are they doing? And who are they surrounded by? And that's where you start to realize what really matters, you know, where the true care and the true power and value and potentially true freedom is at, right? And personal choice for the rest of it. That's the real influence and influencing. I can't imagine wanting to be like Joe Rogan at this point. And maybe that's my ego and narcissism. Maybe that's my cope. I can't imagine wanting to be like Alex Jones or any of these fucking clowns. That's not hate. That's not jealousy and envy. That's not ego and pride. That's, for the first time ever, I'd rather be me than be any of them, because I'm actually walking something here and with a bunch of other folks who are walking something here. They can't say that, right? That's how I know that at some level, what they talk about, cliches about Hollywood, those folks are supremely unfulfilled. You know what it's like to get $1 billion and 1 billion views and know in your heart you ain't really about nothing and you ain't walking nothing and you're just a slave like everybody else, just a slave who's been chosen just to lead the rest of the blind, right? The cowards and the blind leading the rest of the cowards and the blind. Who would want to be that? Like I guess some people would rather reign in hell than to co-create a kingdom of heaven, right? Which is what you really got going on, you know, that Luciferian archetype.
Right, which is why they pursue immortality, because they love the world, they want to be in and of it, and they want to be in and of it forever, and they want to be glorified and idolized.
Why would you want to dominate this place? Why would you want to extend your life?
They don't believe in anything higher.
Right, they're giving the middle finger to God. They think it's funny. Like, they keep getting away with shit. They think it's slick.
Trumped out, man. They played that Trump card on all these hoes.
They're fallen angels, you know, honestly. That's why they call them stars. They're the fallen stars, the fallen angels.
Yeah, the demonic people look up. All these, this is a comedy boom, right? So all these people are filling up arenas, but who the fuck are these people showing up? We should just go to these fucking venues and just fucking bring a camera to the crowd, the line that forms, and be like, you guys are fucking losers, dude, at a Bert Kreischer show? What the fuck are you doing at a Bert Kreischer show? You fucking losers, dude.
Just a place for people to meet who don't care. You know? That's all it is. Bro, you don't think Rome had coliseums full of these same type of people? Just want to show up for the basics and the entertainment and the extras? Just a place for a bunch of people who don't really care and aren't going to do and be and have better to meet. Feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah, and when you have a higher elevated consciousness, these people aren't even funny. They're not at all, because like their humor is so low and surface level. that it stops being funny at all. You know, Joe Rogan was never that funny.
Yeah, Joe Rogan is not a funny guy. Not a good comedian as far as I'm concerned.
Honestly, I feel
Diaz
like
is a funny guy.
He was platformed, you know.
I have a hard time after a certain point laughing with people I don't respect. I can laugh at them, but even that becomes a bit uncomfortable because you're basically taking advantage of what you claim to know or seem to know that others either don't know or not living. So like you want to laugh with people. And for me, that happens when I respect somebody and who and what they are, kind of away from the performance they're putting on. You know, as time goes on, it's been a bit harder for me to separate certain components, right? I do it with the music where there's certain music that, you know, who the people are, as much as they're fascinating, they're not good people, right? Or they've done bad things. But yeah, when it comes to comedy and the spoken word and philosophy and broadcasting specifically, I find it almost impossible to separate my opinion of the work that they do and what they do from who and what they are. You know, because it's like, to me, there's a real consequence there. Maybe I'm taking all the fun out of it. I'm a party pooper. I kind of have been for a while.
Yeah, I'm a party pooper too. That's why my family, they get all, you know, butthurt because I never talk to them and I never go to any of the family events. It's like I literally resonate zero with any of you, and I don't celebrate your little holidays and your. I don't do any of that. It feels empty and meaningless. So I like doing something that actually has meaning and purpose. That's why I come here, you know, almost every day. And if I don't come here every day, then I'm listening later to the recording, because this is like one of the only places with actual value and like potential for growth and meaning. Like the people here are the realest. If they're actually doing what Paul and others talk about, this is where it's at. There ain't no other place.
Well, this guy's happy to be here. He says, "Is this the gay farm club?" He's been looking for this. Welcome. Another deviant, another lowlife. He'll fit in well here to some degree. Yeah, man. You know, there comes a certain point in everybody's existence, or not, where you have to confront the whole picture. And it seems that the majority of folks in this life make a business and or a life practice out of only looking at the part of the picture that pleases them, instead of taking in the whole thing. And that's what's oftentimes referred to by all the toxically positive, wannabe positive white people that I deal with. Paul, you're so negative. I'm negative because I'm choosing to look at the whole picture instead of self-censor or censor the experience for what I want to be true or don't want to be true. No, that's called being conscious and aware. Right. So then you kind of, the realization opens up that there's some people in life who either are more conscious and aware or want to be that. So they're willing to look at and accept life on life's terms, aka truth. The rest are just going to say you're negative because you dare to find true purpose and meaning in the all that there is, rather than distort that and try to create your own purpose and meaning that is oftentimes incongruent with life on life's terms. That's what got us here, wherever here is, over and over again on the loop. Right? That's what gets us to times of trouble and problems that are piling up, is the unwillingness to look at what is and solve the problem in our own life or in the world. You know, they tend to mirror each other. So these aren't coincidences. You know, certain folks are here at this time because they're meant to be the grounding force for the electrical system that we call life or incarnation or creation. The grounding terminal is the negative terminal, from what I understand. I know very little setting up my solar system and learning about that and hooking up batteries and running the cables. That the grounding terminal, at least from what I remember, is the negative terminal. That's not a coincidence, because systems dynamics is systems dynamics. That means some of the most grounded people in this life are some of the most conscious and aware, and it's because they take in the whole picture, especially the negative shit. Right? Now, what you do with that can define you as quote unquote positive or negative or just neutral. So I'm not a negative person because I address the negative. That's what makes me positive. Ignoring the negative makes you negative because then it overtakes you because you fail to address the problems with the solutions. Me addressing the problems and creating solutions in my life and in the world is the absence of negativity holding me back. Right? So what you resist persists, what you ignore persists. As they say, the tiger that you don't believe in is a tiger that will eat you. And it's not negative to point it out and keep it in front of you and keep an eye on it. Go ahead.
Ignored negativity is false positivity.
Right. That's why I said it was negativity, because it's toxic positivity. There's truth, there's actual negativity, and then there's toxic positivity. It's all love, it's all light, Don't listen to Paulie Boy. He's bullying and being hateful because he's pointing out where you're falling short, where you may yet to fall short. No, that makes me wise. That's me telling you what may happen, so to set your expectations, so you could potentially have a more informed choice. And again, this is, if you really want to talk about it, all it is a sign of the age, where a sacred masculine principle like speaking truth and pointing out in wisdom and experience where one may yet to fall short is looked at as negative because you got a bunch of toxic feminine bitches running around here. Weak men create hard times. They literally rebel from a fatherly, archetypal, legitimate authoritarian position, not authoritarian in the sense of tyrannical, in the sense of the words of truth are written by God, the original author. So there's an authority there. So if we're speaking truth, it should not be rebelled against. It should be accepted and or understood or sat with. The immediate rebelling against and labeling of is exactly a replication of the world that we have today, where there is no parenting going on. There is no laying down of wisdom. There is no teaching through showing how to do and be and live and get solutions to the problems we face. There's only shirking of accountability, responsibility, and sublimation. This is, to me, there's no separation from the individuated household on the whole, the majority, and the collective conscious and unconscious mind and how it expresses on these panels and just day to day, general probability wise, on the whole. So, yeah, I mean, it all circles the drain of the one theme that you have throughout the history of human consciousness is the majority is supremely unconscious and unaware and would prefer it that way. They literally are the majority are fans of ignoring reality until it gets unable to be ignored, and then by then your masters already have a solution to impose for you to walk it lockstep. They're doing it now with an economy, like they always do. And there's no they, right? Because we're all subject to it. I don't want to do the whole it's them and it's me, because it's like we have all this in us. It's because I can recognize it in me. I recognize it in others. Like we've all accepted this belief in coupons for value, and many of us are still holding more coupons for value than we'd like to admit, instead of holding tangible, hard assets that accrue value, because they taught the monkey mind that somehow the paper with the pictures on it of your founding daddies is somehow more powerful than gold, silver, land, Filipino slave, I guess, hard, tangible assets. So while you own coupons for value, they own you, the hard, tangible asset that accrues value. Hey, like they say, you're worth more dead than you are alive. I wonder how many folks, once they kick the bucket, whoever's been administrating their estates and social security numbers and accounts gets to keep all that extra that's in the account now that the deceased can't claim those proceeds.
Yeah, that just
Go
makes
ahead,
me
Brian
think of my
O'Shire.
dad.
Go ahead.
Because they killed him in the hospital. I mean, he was hurt already before he went in there, but they killed him. And it's like, you've heard of the statute trust. So it's like he was 74 how much was he worth, right? How much was his all caps estate worth? And, you know, the family didn't get that. The government got it. If it exists, who didn't deserve it got it, right? Or some entity who didn't deserve it got it. Why would they get the profit off of a man, you know? Just from him living, they get the profit and he doesn't get to reap any of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're back to the claims, right? I mean, folks are going to have to start asserting themselves on record, if nothing else, and laying claim to their body and everything that extends off of it. You know, these folks can only acquire what goes uncontested. Just to some extent. I'm not claiming that by any means there's no outright corruption, but the majority of these cases, you know, the legal people move in and they use their double talk to put stuff on record, and then there's nothing on the other side. There's technically or literally nobody and nothing on the other side. You got a bunch of people complaining somewhere, throwing their hands up in the air, going, "Oh my God, this is so bad and terrible, and you should have seen what they did." Well, what did you do? What did you put on record? How did you move? Oh, I went and got an attorney, and they what? Turned your rights and property over to the other side and made a deal with someone somewhere. We're back to, I don't even subscribe to the idea of the founding fathers being the purest form of Americana based on the history, but it's a republic if you can keep it. What level of tyranny will they go to? Whatever level you let them. I guess the short answer there is more pimping and hoeing, right?
Republic, like 4 years in.
Say again?
Okay, didn't the republic stop being a republic like 4 years in?
I don't even know what that is. I mean, I could use the word based on what I understand it to be, but does that mean that any of us really know what that is? What is a republic? If anything, it's a republic now. They've turned the common law and common sense into a public corporate endeavor, like they always do. So they're republicing constantly, I guess, turning private property into public property. Isn't that what Communist Manifesto and Marxism and all collectivism is all about? The abolition of private property, the use of a private monopolized currency, merger of state and corporate powers. I don't care if you call it socialista, fascista, communista. It all rhymes if it doesn't repeat. You know, just like history. So I could talk about what I believe a republic to be. It doesn't mean that Shaitan, the god of this world, if you want to call it that works through people, just like God works through people to reveal the truth. It works through people to obfuscate the truth and get you saying a bunch of shit, right? Spelling words and terms using sorcery to bring in what you think it means while it actually means something else. I have no reason to believe this isn't a realm of code and word that when spoken and accepted and believed and lived, you manifest something. Could very well be the trick here. So when they got everyone running around, I'm a republic and this is a republic. What is a republic? If not, some might argue on some level, turning all private property and rights into public property, which of course means it's going to be managed by the state of and all the corporate politicos and wannabe bourgeoisie, I guess you could say, of our time, presuming I have that correct. I believe it's the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, but it's always the same idea over and over again. It's what Slackcott's wet dream, that a bunch of incompetent, incapable, weak-ass motherfuckers who can't hustle and be entrepreneurial on the fly somehow get to administrate all of the people's property who can and decide where it's going to go and redistribute the wealth to those in need, of course. You know? So that's what it's doing. That's what New World Order is. You know, it's turning every man and woman into a person, turning every person into a state, turning every state into a country, supposedly, or head corporation, and then turning all that into a one world policy and code organized corporate endeavor where there is no more private property. There is no more rights because they taught you that and you repeated it. There is no more lore or law of the land. There's only policy and code. We think the last 4 years, I'll say it 1,000 fucking times. We think the last 4 years is a beta test to go all the way with it. They've been doing this from the beginning of time. I believe from the beginning of time, this force, this thing has been trying to inch its way to take in the whole world and everybody in it. And literally at times it seems even if just one man left doesn't go, it can't have its way. Proving that we are an expression of or connected to the Most High God. That's what the story of Jesus is about. It has to get everybody here to believe in its crap in order to make it manifest, and has to get you to repeat it and accept it. If there's even 1 or 5 or 10 of us who say, no, we see what that is, we know what this thing is, we know the game, and hey, no disrespect, but we're not going for it. It says, motherfucker knows who and what he is and what he's connected to. Can't get him. So then they try to kill you, it would seem. Potentially, some might say. I'm not saying that that's what I'm expecting from me or that's what has to happen, but I'm sure that it would. I'm sure that there are times with certain beings specifically where it would like that to be the case. Whether or not it's allowed, so to speak, to do that, I guess, and it's anybody's speculation. But yeah, when you start to know who and what you are and you're out, you become a threat and a danger to this thing. It doesn't mean it doesn't respect you and maybe give you safe passage, but it starts to get a little bit concerned in its pride and ego, it seems, when you get a whole bunch of people listening, right? When they start to see dozens and hundreds and thousands of people coast to coast going, yeah, we're men and we have God-given rights and we really don't care what you say. And we're not even going to argue with you. So if you're going to put us in the box, we're going to go because you're not going to claim we're terrorists. We're going to overthrow you and do war. Like they used to say, one man's freedom fighters, another man's terrorists, but that's a whole other kettle of fish, right? As they used to say. But yeah, man, it would seem to me that this has been a spiritual game or dynamic from the beginning of time. Once you become aware of it, you just playing your part because there's nothing else to do here. And then through that, you get a peek into another sort of life and state of beingness and actualization and fulfillment. And you get to be part of the story, right? Like they say, his story. There's 2 sides to his story. There's the children of the lie and the devil, the him, right? His story. And then there's the supposed Christ, right? Christ and Antichrist. So folks know where I sit. I don't sit on the fence of there's someone or something outside of me that's better than all of us who came and went and is going to come back if we would just. I don't know what that is other than a cult. What I do know or what I have experienced is a Holy Spirit that works within all of us if we let it be. If ignored, works against us to our own detriment. That when experienced is above and beyond the kingdom of this world, right? My kingdom is not of this world. And Shaitan, somehow, some way, it's been shown over and over again, when you keep the faith and work in trust and equity with what God put forth, gives you safe passage, despite the cries of all the Babylonian scum who say, why is he free? The same thing they would have done in the arena when Maximus won 1,000 battles in a row. Why is he? How come they can't kill him? Because God favors him because he's doing God's work. It's the only answer. They give you the fucking game in these movies. They're in the slave pit. Maximus is going out to do one of 100 fucking battles like Sun Tzu never lost. And the bigger slave says to him, you have to do it, Spaniard. And he's like, what do you mean? Something along the lines of God favors you. It's clear and present, right? Well, if God favors you, then the devil does too. It's all for our development spiritually. Go ahead. Man on the street, Brian O'Shea. Let's go, Brian O'Shea. Tell these people how gay you are, how you have a small penis. See, they like that. He's laughing. Andy likes
gay
it.
shit. Come on.
He was walking. I cracked up like 2 weeks ago. He's walking down the street. He approaches some guy and he was like, it was actually authentic. He was like, he said something like, man, you seem like a happening guy. You're pretty good looking. He goes, I'm so gay. And the guy just looked at him. The guy just looked at him like, what the fuck? That made my whole morning.
I got no people. I got no people. I got to go to these cars. Oh, fuck. Got some woman here.
Yeah, let's go, man. Let's see what she's about, what kind of men she's into, how many of them, how many vaxes they get, right? Like when she meets a man, how many vaxes they got to have before they get in that barren womb is what we want to know.
Hey, what's up, sweetheart? Hey,
Sweetheart.
if someone wanted to date you, how many vaccines would they need to have?
All of them.
Oh,
Fuck yeah.
Not miss
That's
one of
me.
them?
No, I completely.
Let me up in there, baby girl. I got 16 boosters.
I got
16 boosters.
That's a lot of boosters.
Yeah.
I'm ready. You said.
I want to inject you.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Oh, see?
I fucked it
Come
all.
on, man. What's up? See, say what you mean. Any chick we want. My new bit, O'Shea, is my new bit. I'm gonna go out on the street one of these days and I'm gonna do. You ever seen 225? That guy on the streams when you're scrolling? There's this kid. He wears a pearl earring. He's got the most creepy look in his eyes, and he walks around going, "I'm 225. I get any chick I want." You got to look into this kid. I might have to feature him here. So my new bit is I'm 285 and I get any chick I want. And I go around and I do the parody of this guy. He literally gets rejected by every single woman he talks to. And it's not a bit. He's like, he does push-ups on the street and he walks around with no shirt and he thinks he's jacked. And he's like, I'm 225. What's going on? And he's like, we get any chick we want. Every woman he approaches, like, barely looks at him. If they interact with him, they go, no, sorry, we're done. And then he tries to act like he rejects them. It's the best non-bit ever, and I want to do it at some point just to do it.
Yeah.
I can't see. You can't make this shit up. You walk up and she goes, you need all the vaccines. You need them all. Oh, man, you got to laugh to keep from crying. You're in a complete... This is what Man on the Street becomes. Becomes a complete haunted house horror show. And this is real.
What's that?
What's up, Playboy?
Huh?
It's your white daddy.
It's my white daddy?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Tell him hello.
Yeah,
hey, what do you think about P. Diddy?
hello. Hey,
Oh, what do you think about Pity?
what about it? Oh, he going to jail.
He going to jail? Why? Why is he going to jail?
I don't know.
You don't. Oh,
Come
you don't
on.
want to say.
Daddy
Okay.
wants to know why.
All right. No, we
I don't
respect that. He's not snitching.
Freak.
Yeah, you're free.
Playing in people's booty holes without consent. That was the right answer for some people, but we don't know why he's going to jail. Actually, that guy was right. He see, I was ready to dry snitch over here, acting like I'm all some kind of way. I'm over here like, why is Diddy going to jail? I'll tell you why. I'm informing on him now instead of doing like that black guy. We don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm gonna start lying on Diddy, saying I know shit that I don't know. He was right. Yeah, can you find another woman? Because I want to know how many vaccines I got to have with, like, because this is why, this is what my dating life was like. I love Jennifer. We're together. We're not going to have children. So if I decide to date, with her to find a mother of my child, this is what I'm dealing with. You meet somebody and they're like, you need all the vaccine.
Hey, how many vaccines do I need to have to hook up with you?
I'm thinking no amount suffices in that case. She's like, it was a no, just generally no. Which is kind of rude. I mean, you asked her a direct question and she couldn't answer that. Like, 5, 4, 3, 0.
A generally good place to go to meet like-minded unvaccinated women is flat earth groups. Go to the flat earthers, look for women in there because they
but the flat earth women don't bathe, so it's like there's always a give and a take. They got no vaccines. They also take no baths.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
777.
Like,
They just don't use
I have evidence
they
that they
don't use
do.
soap. They bathe.
Oh, there you go.
Bathe, but
All
they
right,
don't
same
spit any
difference.
soap.
I don't know what you're doing. Please don't. You're a weak person. Probably vaccinated.
Weak person.
You got tattoos and a bald head and you're weak sauce.
What was that? Ian's cousin?
Disgusting.
Please don't. Whatever you're doing, just stop.
Yeah, well, he's one of the ones who has the 15 vaccines. He'll bang like 10 chicks tonight, even though he's that effeminate. He's got Jordan sneakers. He's got 15 vaxes. He'll bang all these women on the street and then look down on you, right? While then calling the cops to come drag you off for policy and code. This is the world we live in. Sorry. You wonder why all these other folks went migtard. They went completely celibate from a man's point of view. It's part of the reason why. They can't see why they're part of the problem, so I got to gripe with them too, but I'm just telling you why it's happening. Basically, there's a lack of self-awareness on all sides.
Look out, look out. She's going to hit this car. Look at her. She's going to hit this car right now. She's going to hit this car. It's hitting the car. Oh, wait, is she leaving? Oh, fuck.
You're just going to allow that to happen too? You're a bad person.
I was trying to tell her.
You were totally going to let that happen and laugh at it. You're like, look. She's like,
She's like, no, it's cool.
Look, property damage. Look,
we're ratting everyone out. What's the line? 225?
You're really into genocide and slavery right now. It's like it's palpable. I can feel it.
Yeah, I was going to tell her Trump's going to kick your Chinese ass out of here.
nothing like supporting Trump and doing a little Asian hate, right? I mean, why not?
We're coming to a tipping point, and the browns and the yellows are going to be the industrial. The blacks are the powerhouses, the physical strength, and then the whites are the wisdom. The Oralinda book.
It sounds really Oralinda. Is that like the KKK's doctrine? He just quoted the Grand Wizard.
They're all about freedom, dude.
The whites are going to be the wise ones. What's giving you this? What? Because of me? I'm pink. We've established that. What's up, Poppy?
You don't think there's truth to that? Aren't the blacks kind of not as smart as the whites, and they're way stronger?
Ouch, Brian O'Shea. We're really going down this road.
Come on, yes, I am.
I don't know. I'm just saying. He's Jimmy the Greek over here. I'm just saying the blacks got an extra bone in their legs, and they got it from slavery. That's why they're great football players.
Dude,
I'm just
what
saying.
The fuck? We're going to deny
I'm putting
this.
I'm putting some pieces together.
Drill music. Just murder is just.
I'm just saying, if the Jew, I'm just saying, if the Jews have been kicked out of every place they lived, there's got to be something to it. He's doing one of these bits with me. The bit, non-bit.
The wrong way. Dude, it's totally something to it. Don't the browns and the yellows? They're industry.
I got in trouble for on Instagram for the last couple weeks. I've been in my algorithm on the flipping videos. At night, I flip like most people. I do a good 30 minutes of flipping, and I go, "Why am I flipping? It's the same shit." But there's these like Jewish videos where like they come on with the curls and the hat, and they start telling you their bizarre philosophy. They're like, "We have a holiday, but we can go around it because we lie to God." And I go, you guys aren't serious, right? You're literally lying and cheating and stealing with God and claiming to be good Jews. And it's not a bit. Again, it's not a bit. They're actually doing it. And I started typing there, like humorously, "These videos prove Hitler was right." And they banned me for that on Instagram, right? And that was kind of funny. I mean, because seriously, if you're going to claim to be righteous and godly and say you're Jewish, don't lie and cheat and steal with God and think you're getting away with it. And like you're shystering God and then doing it on social media. They're like, "We can't use electronics, but we go around it by using the refrigerator with electronics in it." And I go, "You're just lying. You're purposely lying and doing delusion with God and not adhering to your principles. Just get rid of them then. They're ridiculous anyway. These are basically mentally, emotionally, spiritually ill people who think they have a ritual. They're so neurotic. And I know this because Italian's a Jew that doesn't read, and I grew up on Long Island. Very neurotic people. How do you think I became the way I became?
The Mormon kids are doing now.
What?
The Mormon kids are, so that they can have sex. They are. I forget what it's called. It's like, being wet or something. They just basically they sit still and they have a friend jump on the bed. So as long as they're not moving during the sex, it's not actually.
Yeah, that's what Brian O'Shea does with other men, so he's not technically gay. I've seen this maneuver before. You get wet, Brian O'Shea. I know you do. Getting wet. The fuck?
Soaking. Yeah.
Great.
It's called soaking. That's.
Yeah, this is what these religionists do. They make humans so neurotic about natural behavior that they start becoming mentally and emotionally ill to try to please God. They go, "God, you're going to be so pleased." He's like, "What do you got for us?" "Well, we're going to not have sex and wear full length, full body latex suits while not achieving penetration. We're going to rub each other together like two sticks. God's like, what are you people doing? This was a very clear-cut thing I gave you, right? Like God starts like having to give you a diagram. This is a very clear-cut sort of activity experience, and you guys even fuck that up. How are you so neurotic and fucked up in life that you've even fucked up intercourse to try to please God and avoid your neurotic guilt? It's amazing. It's another rejection and rebellion, right? While your politicians are fucking children, the average person's not having sex to try to please God because it just subconsciously recognizes Rome's about to burn. So they think we must please God. How do we do it? Get out the full length latex suits and don't achieve penetration. That'll get it done. I go, maybe it's the lying, cheating, stealing, and bad faith and dishonor that we have a problem with. Maybe it's not the intercourse. I'm just saying. They won't listen to me. I try to stand up at Applebee's and tell people this all the time. They never listen. It's the craziest thing. Brian O'Shea, what do you got for me? I'm going to get the hell out of here, I think. Hey, Andy, we never got to you. Andy, do you have some questions, comments, concerns, experiences, anything that you want to present?
No.
Are you kind of drained?
Enjoyed the show. It's been great, man. I wanted to come up and, get this first thing over with. It is kind of, a little off-putting to come on. It's the first time I've been on a live broadcast, but I had to come up.
All right. Well, use this place for what you can use it for. If you learn from the past, mix in where you get in. If not, then you become a statue here, right? I do most of the non-logging for the non-tent, and then you just kind of hang out. So, it's sort of a weird thing that goes on here, but you get used to it or you just stay away is what I've learned. No hard feelings even. It's just like it's how I choose, I guess, to do the broadcast where I'm open and available for people if they have something they want to address or pick my brain on or get a perspective or just present. And then I do the rest of the broadcast, right? Whatever that means, stream of consciousness, hit the docket. So yeah, don't take that personal if that goes on. And if you got something that you want to contribute or share or interact on, don't be shy. And then, I guess try to read the room at times or read me if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely want to work my way up to doing things like Hefe's been doing.
Right.
Well, doing better.
Well, he did get pepper sprayed and got warrants put out and may have to go to jail. Like, you get what this comes with, right? Like this isn't just
right. Exactly. I'm 63, and it's just like there's no one my age that would even entertain this. What if I show them a video of somebody driving without a license? They're just like, that can't happen. I'm like, well, it is happening. What the fuck's wrong with you guys? If
it can't happen.
Possibility that someone's doing it. What do you got to you're going to be dead soon and you never experienced that you've been getting effed all your life.
See, Andy gets it. Andy's he's the aging white male who showed up at I'm the poor man's overweight Brad Pitt with a broken discolored tooth, right? So I started my own fight club here where we don't really fight. We just sit and argue. It's Argue Club. And Andy's like one of the guys, I am Ron's swollen prostate, remember that there's some line like that in the big overweight guy, we're showing up at a place to find meaning and purpose through a procedure that oftentimes gets us hurt, gets us tested, gets us challenged. It's very Fight Clubby, even down to the monologue. Hey, we have a whole generation of men raised by women. And part of the reason of starting the Fight Club is to remind us of what it means to be a man. Good, bad, or indifferent, right? And to kind of own that and understand that and explore that and move into that with some kind of purpose and meaning, values, and principles. So they don't make these movies for nothing. These are pretty intelligent people who've had an experience that correlates to the rest of our experience, and they're telling a story that is our story to some degree, right? And of course, it's ironic and synchronistic from the inverse perspective that I was absent a mother or sort of feminine influence growing up. You know, so a lot of the stuff that folks just repeat to me they got from their mama in the state, it's just not part of my it's not there. It never took, you know, even though my father was an order follower and believes in government and code as law like most people do. I think a lot of this stuff comes across with mama. You know, mama teaches son not to do anything that's going to put him in danger because mama's going to lose her son. And by being a devouring mother, in that sense, you keep your son from ever discovering his true purpose and power in himself and in this world, right? So that's why they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So they mean well, but oftentimes by projecting what a woman's role is in the world onto a man, they trick the man out of his power and position and his role, and therefore society and culture, right? And we're back to weak men create hard times create strong men create good time.
And witnessing that the change in Brian when he was dealing with the cops, I just can't imagine that the feeling he had. I know that feeling, that empowerment, and you're doing the right thing, and how that must feel. I haven't been on stage for 5 years, going on 6 years now, but the very first time, you know, I faced my fear, like going on stage and you know, the audience is either going to laugh or boo you or whatever. You just do it. That feeling after it's all done, all said and done, man. I could see that. I could just see it coming out of Brian after that. I was like, I got to experience that again.
It's the same feeling Brian O'Shea is going to have after he gets done masturbating on this public bus and walks away and gets away with it.
Yeah.
It's liberating, sir. There's nothing like it. Brian O'Shea's like, he's on the bus now. He's traveling. This traveling's okay. If you want to do that kind of traveling without a license, not a problem. All right. City bus.
And besides, my brother used to drink his own piss.
There you go. It's all coming together.
Slaves of America right here. Hello, future slaves.
Hey, how many vaccines we got on the bus all together? Let's do a quick count.
You guys take all those COVID vaccine shots? Put the mask on and stuff?
Nothing.
Because your parents are weak, inauthentic corporate data males that don't stand for anything, and they're going to make you guys move like that. And then you guys just going to follow their example and be weak.
No.
Yeah.
You're going to play on iPad all day.
What?
And
yeah, you guys are doomed. You guys have no chance.
Next stop, Fauci's cage. Next stop, Fauci's basement.
Yeah,
ring the bell if you're getting off.
Don't go to school. Schools are terrible. Indoctrination camps. Don't listen to your parents. Just move out. Go to a farm. Just run from them. Just do something.
Run from them. This is what got Socrates forced to drink the hemlock. O'Shea just masturbated on a public bus and told all the youth, run from your houses.
Yeah, your parents
escape
are all
their tyranny. Come with me.
You really need to get away from
You sound a lot like it's Brian Epstein. You have your own
It's just-
island there, Brian? Christ almighty. This is why I shouldn't. This broadcast is not a good influence on everyone all the time. It's not. He's trying to do what I do, but maybe this is what I sound like sometimes,
Brian
and I need to
had a
work on that.
I'm gonna think twice.
Come to my van. Yeah. Guys, come to my van. Your parents don't know what you need.
Seriously,
I'm
though,
going to
dude.
make you strong.
It's fucking
Fuck.
true, is it not? Would I not be better off for these kids than their parents? Honestly.
You would.
I gotta tell you,
I mean,
I'd
and-
like to make a joke, but it is arguable. Even though you live in Illumina and drink your own urine, I go, you're still not getting vaccines and submitting to slavery completely. So
Hey, the Lumina is a vintage car
we're
at
now in a
this point.
time where arguably your children are better off with Brian O'Shea than the majority of citizen slaves. That's telling. All right, I'll just leave it at that. That's very telling.
Don't stand for shit. How's it
The
an
Lumina
argument?
has an extra seat or two, and there's no slavery. Again, there's no genocide there. There's no boosters that are going to like seize your heart up. I can't. You got me. I'd like to argue, but you got me on this one.
You can't talk shit on the Lumina because it's vintage at this point.
It's a classic.
It's more
yeah.
than 25 years old. You can't,
Yeah, you actually could work on it. You can't work on the new cars. These boys, they can't work on. You want them to be able to drive a car. It's gonna be unsafe. It's not electric and connected to the grid. It's gonna be too unsafe to drive your own vehicle. You gotta use your scan your identity to get in the public vehicle. Horses and carriages are legal.
I love that kid was talking shit and mouthing off to you. Is my dad's not a beta male.
But then he flipped.
Fuck you. You live in a Lumina. He starts talking shit on you. You're that guy that lives in the Lumina.
I gotta start hanging around schools, dude. Elementary schools. See how this
Hey,
goes.
creepy. Hey, creepy O'Shea. You're the guy who eats out of the garbage
dude,
can.
that's
Lives in
where
the
all the good
Lumina, aren't you,
content
loser?
is.
We heard you drink your own
Elementary schools, that's where the good content.
Yeah, my mom's got cervical cancer and had 15 vaccines, but at least she doesn't live behind the garbage. At least she doesn't live in the parking lot of Walmart.
I've done it before, dude. They were all running around with masks on in the crazy 100-degree heat. I went to the school and I was like, who's in charge here? I went to the dean. I was like, this is bullshit. Went off on her, went off on everyone, all the teachers. You guys are fucking losers, dude.
O'Shea, like getting into full-on arguments with adolescents on the bus.
They actually, the one kid was like, yeah, it's true. I need to go to a farm. He was kind of half, everyone else was being silent.
He said that?
And he did. He was half agreeing with me, dude. He kind of.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make us sound crazier than we already look to the average NPC slave. Meanwhile, the kid's like, hey, you're not wrong. That'd have been me on the bus. I go, where have you been? At least you get it. I go, yeah, you live in a Lumina and drink your own urine, but you at least get the slavery thing.
I guarantee that's going to be a conversation starter for one, at one of these kids' homes. This guy in the bus, it's like, don't go to school. Don't listen to your parents. Oh, yeah, Jimmy, he's a crazy person. Bullshit. These people, especially in this town, dude, no one stands for shit.
Yeah, but that's the thing, O'Shea. The only reason they can even sell that crazy line, like they try to do it me, is because you live in a Lumina and drink your own urine. And I mean, they'd always do it, but it's like if you're working and you're not like living behind the garbage, you got something going, they can do that, but it doesn't. You don't believe it as much. That's the problem. It's like not what they call you, it's what you answer to, what you believe about yourself or not. And then how much are you being delusional and in denial and coping? And then how much are you downplaying your abilities and potentials or what you're doing or not doing, and then changing that if necessary. So yeah, that's the Talcottian vortex, what I'm naming it at this moment, where it's like, there's a ton of potential there. If it goes unrecognized and unused in favor of delusion and denial, then it will be detrimental. There is no, it's always in flux potentially. The universe, such as the conscious and awareness, is always in a yes, no, and maybe stage, I guess you could say. I guess till it's not. All right. Well, I want to get out of here, O'Shea. I'm and Mr. Andy Hayward and Hefe, come back tomorrow. If we have to, we'll go over more of this recording nonsense. I mean, I keep setting the intention to do more car lens. Tomorrow I may do at least an hour of that because it's good information, and that's where. Okay, F.A.'s dead. Right, he's back.
Sorry.
That's always the best visual when someone like it just drops over.
I don't have a professional audio visual setup here, but I'm gonna write something up tonight, and then get your feedback on it and get it on the record sooner than later, because I don't want them dismissing everything I already put in, right?
Yeah, I think
Because basically,
the biggest part of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're lagging a little bit. I think the biggest part of life in these interactions is cultivating a trust in yourself and why you're doing what you're doing, and having faith that it's not going to be as bad as you think it's going to be. You know, as far as how it works out.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree. I think that the way that you and Brian come at the situation is like, what can they do? They can't take away who I am and what I'm about. You know, they can't make claims that I'm a bad person or that I've done wrong, because I haven't done that. So they can't really take it away from me. You know, they can put me in the box, but it's going to make me stronger, just like O'Shea says.
yeah, it's what you let it be. I mean, you're somebody who you kind of said to me that you don't have much interaction, you don't have much responsibilities and obligations. Whatever you have is pretty much paid off, right? It's not like if you went to a box, you're going to be begging like the Castro because they're going to take all your shit. You know, at that point, it's like, okay, does anybody want to go to jail? No. We're practicing, you know, upholding the law and exercising rights. We're doing activism. That's part of the walk of someone who does that potentially at times, if you're going to be part of making change. So if you can mitigate the risk and you're not really losing anything, and you're coming out to everything that you had and maybe some more experience that you get to have and generate, I don't really see the downfall. You know, again, it's like, what else are we doing here? And then there's a fine line there of, hey, you kind of cherish the moments you have and the things and people, places, and things. You know, you try to be thankful and grateful for that. And then at times you got to give that up to get other things back. Is kind of the principle or the practice. So that's what we're practicing. You know, it's like we all want money, we all want things, we all want success in our career or whatever we do and be good at it and all the rest. Are we so in love with that we're willing to trade the rest of who and what we are to supposedly get, keep, and have that? And that's, I think, the quandary for any man or woman at some point, is their integrity, their self-respect, their values, their principles, their conscience. And it would seem to me the universe wouldn't create a dynamic like that if you wouldn't be better off following it. It's probably going to open up to you and start teaching and showing you more. At least that's been my experience. It doesn't say, hey, you have this other part of you you're forsaking. Why don't you move into that so we can fuck you? No, it fucks you when you don't move into that, is what it seems, right? So it's counterinstinctual, but not as much counterintuitive, because the intuitive side recognizes the paradox that everywhere you want to go is not where you need to go. And where you need to go is not where you want to go. But once you do that, you get what you need in life and you're a better person for it. While the rest tell you, stay away from that, right? Like, that's the game. We see the game.
Okay.
Hey, you could always sit there and say it could be worse. I could have 5 boosters in me right now and not know when I'm going to have to potentially play Russian roulette, right? Like, so you doing 6 months at a steel and concrete summer camp, essentially, with a bunch of other sort of regular folks. You know, you're not going to be doing hard time with hardened criminals, convicts. It's just about learning how to do time, you know, and be better off for it, you know, and develop a practice of doing time and a spiritual faith. That's one of the best places to do inner work is at jail. You know, some of the best performers and creators and other folks, their work came out of them going to jail, you know, or facing death. So, yeah, man, there's always worse fates like genocide and slavery, or being duped out so much that you gave potentially your health away. You know, like they say, health is your greatest wealth. So just going to a box for 6 months or even a year, while it sucks, you still get to come out and be who and what you are, barring that they don't, you know, one of my fears at one point was them trying to hold me down and give me something.
Wouldn't that be the best thing for all these fucking slaves, dude, is to go to fucking jail? What are they doing out here? They're not doing anything. They're submit, complying, obeying, going along to get along. In there, they'll learn something. They'll develop something, dude. It would, to be honest, it'd be the best place for me at time, like, in terms of, dude, you're forced to be focused. it's
right. You're gonna exercise every day. You're not gonna eat more than you need. You're gonna be reading the Bible.
you're
or
forced to interact with
philosophy
people.
or
Like,
whatever.
be respectful. It's true respect in there, bro. You can't be a fucking bitch. Like, maybe in the minimal shit you could get away with stuff, but someone's gonna want to put hands on you. Like, if you're just like, I'm not saying it's all, you know, I gotta do this job, so I gotta get out of here. I'm here.
All right.
All right.
All right, get your knee pads out, Brian O'Shea. I'll see you in about 20, 25 minutes, I'm thinking. He's good at he's good at what he does, but he gets paid by the hour, so.
All right. I'll see you guys later. I gotta do this. I gotta move some
All
shit
right,
around.
send pictures. That guy sounded kind of like your type.
Then I gotta go do comedy later, man.
I gotta do this job, and he like looks up at some guy.
Then I gotta go perform for a bunch of white, slaved up, vaccinated idiots tonight. Fellow comics. Just
You got a paid gig, Brian?
No, I'm for free, dude.
Okay.
Go every day, sometimes twice a day for free, dude.
It's not free because you got however many people in that room, including you, giving your time, energy, and attention toward it, and you can't get that back.
No, that's right.
So I'm gonna do my thing there tonight. I'm gonna figure something out.
Give it to them straight. Make fun of them
Oh,
for
yeah.
getting the vaccine and make fun of them for being slaves. Then they're gonna have to laugh at themselves, and maybe they'll actually recognize something.
All right, fellas. Appreciate it. Much love. See you guys
Thank you,
later.
sir. Yeah, Joe King, I get it, but like you just can't. You and others like you can't stop hating. Like, I get that I'm influential and certain people respect me and what I do, and they tend to take a cue from how I perceive, and that's oftentimes makes me uncomfortable. But again, like, what would you like me to do? What would you have me do? To not influence people and inspire people, to not make them feel like if they're going to be part of something and they have to go to jail, that there's a reason they're there? I don't really believe that jail's the worst place ever. So I'm not going to say what I don't believe. And if by me saying what I really believe or have experienced or tried to find the silver lining on the cloud influences others to do the same, I think that's a positive thing. I don't tell Brian O'Shea he shouldn't work. I don't tell him he shouldn't make something out of himself with his profession. I tell him it's all the things that we have to practice. Exercising, eating right, keeping ourselves in shape, working on our career and our relationships, getting on the land, growing something. It's this and that. So, like, I don't know what your point is, that people oftentimes take a cue from me and they just follow what I'm doing. Okay. The alternative is I just shut up or just go back to being a loser heroin addict with no purpose and meaning. And then he and others can follow whoever, whatever else. Because I don't tell him and others to follow me. I don't tell them they have to perceive how I perceive. There is a good chance, though, on some level, that if they walk with me, they're going to see and experience and perceive what I'm seeing and experiencing and perceiving. So where's the line between me influencing them and them just copying me, which is what you're kind of trying to point out, versus actually influencing and being a part of a collective walk and experience and journey here? I don't think you can really find the line. I think that's evidenced by the fact that Brian O'Shea showed up at one point in a different way when he interacted with the one group of cops. It was a completely different way of perceiving himself in the situation and interacting. If nothing else, he got that out of this journey. You can't fake that and you can't lie about it one way or the other. So the proof is in the pudding, as they used to say. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what he follows or copies, as you're pointing out. It matters when the time comes and the rubber meets the road. Has he become a different person on some level and is able to communicate from a different state of inspiration and empowerment? And the answer in that case was yes. And I'm not going to deny that a big reason for that is because he feels a part of whatever goes on here, with me or not. So continue to try to devalue and demean what I do, and my progress and other people's progress, because you don't do shit is the bottom line. You're not about shit. You don't have anything to point to about what you do and who you do it with. So you go other places and try to demean and devalue and hate on other people who have something going on, who other people show up and say, he has something going on with us and we get some kind of value and empowerment and leadership and influence out of it, and it makes us a better person. I'm doing God's work to some degree. So feel free to hate on that. Feel free to try to demean and devalue it. You can't. You only have the power I give you by putting my time, energy, attention, and awareness on you till I take that back away. Your words are not founded in actual meaning, an explanation of what's going on, right? It's the antithesis of such. It would have been funny is all I'm trying to point out. No, you're trying to undo a power and value dynamic here. Most of you beta males do it because you can't have it and experience it. I don't even really need it or like it. It's uncomfortable to me, but I'm aware it exists. You're jealous and envious because you don't have it. You wish other people would look to you or be influenced by you or see you as a leader and try to copy what you do. I don't even want that. It just became part of what goes on here at times. And then they try to say I'm doing a cult. What I'm doing is trying to lead myself and others out of the fucking cult, sure, root word cult, and into what I see as a different way of co-creating and getting results for ourselves and each other, because that's probably going to give me good karma and it's probably going to feel good to me and be something to be a part of that allows me to be an esteemable person. If you want self-esteem, you got to do esteemable things. Right. So I get it. It would have been so funny if I'd have changed my perspective and then Brian O'Shea changed his for you. Right. Because really what it is it's a coping thing. So like, why don't you get away from trying to figure out how I'm doing a cult and people are copying me and let's play games and see who changes up what. And why don't you just become somebody people can look to as an example and be influenced by to do and be and have more? Stop playing games with me. How about that? Is that day ever going to come? I'll be there for you if it ever does. Go ahead, give me some final words, Andy and Hefe. We'll come back tomorrow, Hefe, if you want to go over some more stuff. I don't mind it. You know, we got to fill some time and do a broadcast some way, somehow. And Legal Lawful is just as good, if not better, than anything else. Better than talking to all the haters and the demeanors and devaluers and game players and pussies is really the bottom line. They have to play second fiddle to folks who are really out here doing something. When you and others show up, you get precedence. Because these folks like him will be there from the beginning till the end of time, laughing and giggling, joking around. Girls just want to have fun and waste his whole fucking life and not be a part of anything, right? So you get precedence, you get, more if you need it of whatever this is. I don't have all the answers, but if it works to kind of, keep you revitalized or vitalized in your faith and inspiration, I'm here till I'm not, right? So you got to also make that an indwelling process. But I get that it's part of a facilitation and a revelation and a co-creation. So I'm here for it.
Thank you. Yeah. This is definitely a fellowship where we come together and God renews our strength through the fellowship. So I renewed. I'm going to keep pursuing my path no matter what they do. And yeah. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, when I was like 17 or 18, I did mushrooms with my a group of friends, and something where I just like my eyes opened and I was like, you guys, we are living in a prison, right? And like you talk about an open air prison. Well, so I was made aware of it, and I was like, don't you guys want to go do something? Like, let's go like make something happen, right? And they were like, the game's on, bro. I like watching football. And it was pretty much in that moment that I knew I wasn't the same as like everybody else, because I was like, you can't tell that like we're in a prison, like they force you to pay to live if you own the house. And from then on, I knew something wasn't right, and I just didn't know how to articulate it, didn't know how to completely understand it. But as I got older, as I read more, as I learned more from other people, I have come to a greater understanding, and I feel like I have a solid foundation and purpose now. Back then I didn't know the hell I was supposed to do. Like, what am I supposed to do with my life, right? I'm not just trying to go to college and get a job. I'm trying to like have a reason to live. And I absolutely have one now.
So it was interesting because as soon as I pulled up this comment, you spoke, and now it's slipping from me. You spoke the synchronicity, and now it's coming back to me. The idea that folks are confusing like this person, that there are folks, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. You are interpreting folks who are repeating some of my language as them having no thoughts and copying me. Having no thoughts at times is a good thing. It allows you to pour into a vessel. So as the man just said, folks sit with me and do fellowship and listen to my experience, and they recognize self as self. So they go to articulating in the same way how I articulate the experience of self, because they are also a self. They're using a similar verbiage, language is what I'm using, because when you sit with someone, you tend to mimic their language if you sit with them long enough. It doesn't change that we're potentially having the same experience. So you want to superimpose that I'm indirectly doing a cult because people sound like me because they choose the same words, hearing me choose them to describe their experience, which is also mine. That's communion. That's unity. That's not culting. So again, the antithesis of that is what you see in the world. They sound like Trump, they sound like Joey, they sound like whoever, and they blindly follow. You're talking about people here, whether they sound like me or not, are describing an experience they become aware of through doing fellowship with myself and others here. So, and it's interesting because you folks are always selective in who you decide to make the judgments or discernments with. You never point out that all the people who are hating on me after they used me, who shit on me now, also choose the same words I choose, because a lot of what I do is influencing many people. So you ever notice that some of my biggest haters and detractors are constantly using the lingo I use and didn't use it till they found me here while hating on me? But those people aren't part of the cult, right? Even though they're engaged in the same behavior for an opposite same reason. So yes, I'm powerful to some degree, as are you if you let it be. Yes, I'm influential to some degree, as are you if you let it be. Yes, if you spend enough time with me, you're going to start choosing similar, if not the same words to describe the same experience we're having, because the man just said he was always having an experience but didn't quite know how to articulate it. That's where I come in. That's not culting. That's facilitating a revelation of self and truth. And as the man said, truer purpose and meaning. I don't claim to have a monopoly or even an understanding on the complete objective purpose of beingness. I just go with what I experience and how it makes me feel, if you will, or what it does for me or me and the world and others. Right? So I speak from firsthand experience in a way, oftentimes, that folks will emulate. Why do you, again, this is just, you got to get some more nuance and context here. You guys are the same folks who show up other places where they're actually culting, repeating nonsense that makes no sense in the same ways as other people with no results and no outcomes. So there's a fine line between community and leadership and fellowship and growth and emulation and co-creation versus blind faith culting in nonsense and insanity. And I'm pretty much consistently riding the line here, if not over on what I believe to be the right side of that dynamic. So let's be a little bit more equitable with the critique and the criticism to incorporate the whole of the picture and to take in the idea of certain subtleties, nuances, aspects of context. There's a good majority of what we do here in this life generally that's monkey see, monkey do, if you've not noticed. We could argue no one's ever had an original idea or thought or action here because they saw someone do something similar, if not the complete thing, first and foremost, before they ever replicated it. Started with your parents.
In the last 4 years, I've been looking for a place like this. All all my old friends from my whole life, 30 years plus, they're gonna watch the football game. Nothing. They're not interested in any of this.
Yeah, well, then you have to ask yourself, this is where we get to these aspects of life, right? Of reflection and introspection. You have to kind of ask yourself, it begs the question, how are these people my friends? Why do I have them in my life? What are we doing? I mean, then they'll say, Paulie's being negative. He's trying to cult again and tell people to leave their family and friends. I don't see much value or empowerment, inspiration, or even entertainment with a group of folks I don't respect and don't align in principles and values with. Pretty much a waste of my time, and I'm wasting theirs. They'd rather be watching the game. I'd rather be playing the game of life, so to speak. You know, so I just a while ago had to confront the fact that you could call me whatever you want. You know, you got to be selfish to get selfless sometimes, and sometimes you got to check in with self and go, why would I engage these people, places, and things? What am I getting out of it? Good, bad, or indifferent? And take account. That's what accountability is. That makes me narcissistic and egotistical to say, I don't want to surround myself with loser failures going nowhere who have no conscience and awareness and want to waste their time, energy, attention, resources, and life on Babylonian nonsense and dysfunction. I thought that was true self-care. Maybe I missed something. You know, so that doesn't make you, don't let them gaslight you. That makes you egotistical and narcissistic. That makes you someone who truly cares about yourself and your life, who's willing to set a standard and not accept less for yourself. It's probably one of the cornerstones of true confidence and true trust and true faith. We don't have to rebuke these people or reject them, but why not put equal, if not more, time, energy, attention in co-creating with those who are aligned with you and are willing to build something and do something and be something and have something here for themselves and others? Isn't that true community? Isn't that true family and friendship? Isn't that where the bonds are built through the experience in the purpose and meaning, values, and principles? Maybe other folks' experience is different from mine. As a matter of fact, I'm sure the majority of folks' experience is different than mine. Everything points toward it. I've never felt comfortable aligned with these supposed friends and family who don't align with me in values and principles, conscious and awareness. I feel very much unequally yoked, as the man in scripture said. I don't, and then I get a rap. I'm sick, I'm sociopathic, I'm cold, I'm distant. For those I'm not aligned with in that, I don't see much point in spending our time, energy, attention together. For those who are aligned with that, I don't feel the need to do much talking because we're already bonded and aligned in the biggest purpose and meaning, values, and principles that we could be here doing and being. I'm never alone or lonely. Even if I'm alone, I'm not lonely. So yeah, I mean, I would think now that that's a preferable place to be. It's like practicing detachment, able to come together with folks and enjoy whatever is meant to enjoy. And if not, just be okay being with self and being a part of this experience. Not being wanton and needy and not be willing to accept less for yourself, and sometimes accepting less for yourself because sometimes less is more. Better to go alone on this journey of life and consciousness than with fools for company. But that's, I guess, a subjective experience, you know, based on what you want and or what you need in this life. I'm not really big on social validation. I don't really get much recharge or validation from socializing. If anything, it drains me. At this point, doing this broadcast is like 10,000 times more socialization than I was ever used to or really wanted. And then that drains me. And then the rest of my life, I'm just like, okay, you know, chop wood, carry water proverbially. You know, do the next right thing, work on certain things, you know, get the land, do the basics on the hierarchy of needs, right? Be able to feed yourself, get a good source of clean water. Don't be surrounded by chemtrails, you know, and have a few good people around you who you know you could trust, who you know stand on something, who you know are battle tested. They've been through everything with you. That's true family, that's true friendship, that's true community. Everything else for me is just supremely unfulfilling and a waste of my time, energy, attention. And people can perceive that however they want. It's my fucking life. I'm going to live it how it's apparent to be lived to me. I do that with everything. No, it hasn't really failed me yet. If it does, I guess you folks will be the first to know. I'll be up here like slack hot. Nobody talks to me anymore. I wore out my welcome with everyone. Everyone thinks I'm a prick. an occultist and asshole, and I'm angry. I don't love them and care about them. I don't appreciate them. All this extra shit. It's like, if that day ever comes, I guess we'll know it, but I ain't there yet. I'm still too egoic and prideful. I still got to go through the process of getting old and hunched over and even closer to death before I can feel more lonely, and then we'll check back in. I'll tell the tale of how I wished I would have been more loving and kind and polite and tolerant of all the nonsense. Not yet, Andy. All right, get the hell out of here. Give me some final words if you got them, and then we're back tomorrow.
Thanks for having me up. Good.
Well, thank you for being here and
Yes, sir.
getting in where you fit in and allowing me to be the performative, rude and crude gorilla that I am at times.
Much health.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm throwing you out. I don't do good with goodbyes.
Okay.
It's awkward.
Wait. I'm gonna come back on tomorrow with something I've written up. I've gone over what we went over today, and then you can tell me if I'm an idiot or not.
Well, you're definitely an idiot, and so am I. We're outside the scope of professionalism and the society known as the legal society. So that's a good place to be, right? But again, make that known in the sense of short and sweet, kingly verbiage, if possible, but not overdone to where it's like you're trying to fake it till you make it. It's like at that point default to at that point default to simple and short and caveman. Hefe have rights. Hefe have property taken. Hefe want property back. Hefe need compensation for rights interfered with. Hefe willing to compensate other men and women for property destroyed or rights interfered with. It's like the simpler and straightforward that we keep this, the more airtight it is, the harder it is for there to double talk on words or legitimately railroad you. And then if they railroad you, well, you did the best you can. You get the experience, and then they're probably going to give you an answer like every time dad beats you, he beats you 40-0, he gives you a little tip. And then after X amount of times, the day comes where you beat dad, and he's kind of proud. He's a little bit prideful about it. Oh, I knew this day was coming, but in a way, I'm proud. It's like, what is Darth Vader without Luke Skywalker? What is the dark side of the Force without the light side? Without one or the other, we wouldn't have much to do here or much of an experience. So try to be philosophical about it and presume that they'll do the same.
All right, kick me out.
All right. Bye. Good stream today. All right, I'm going to go around for collections later. These folks have been stingy lately. I'm going to purge a stingy spirit. Like that preacher, that pastor. All right, what you can at least do is, if you're not going to I'm not eating pizza and pasta. I was going to say, if you're not going to buy me pizza and pasta, the least you can do is uphold the damn law and exercise rights and freedom and practice spiritual faith to show directly or indirectly your appreciation for me. And if you are going to do that or not do that, then the second least thing you could do is send me some videos, clips, music, interesting things to my email. I would say naked pictures as well, but then I'll have Slack caught in my inbox again. In the tub. I have to specify, right? All right, let me get the hell out of here. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Paulie on Slavia. Imagine the devil does good one time. I don't have to imagine, sir. The devil does good all the time. The devil reveals good through tests and challenges that you call evil. You couldn't have one experience without the other, like hot and cold. Come on, get with it. Consciousness is rising. It's up there. Everything's up there. It's scrolling up top. Thing. Believe how many people don't see this shit either. All right, I'm out of here. What do we got on the way out? I still like this one, I think. I like Paul and Convinced. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
Hey, who the fuck do you think he's talking to, huh? You wanna fuck? Who the fuck do you think I am? Fucking dumb boy? Dumb brother. Do you wanna go to war? Come on. Do you wanna go to war? We'll take you to war, okay?
This is an arduous task. You need discipline and will. There's nothing fucking guaranteed. That's called being a man in life. Where else in life do you get fucking guarantees exactly? Can you find something in life being a fucking man that you get a guarantee over and isn't worth doing because it's difficult, testing, challenging, and requires something of a motherfucker to get it done? Where are we at here? Seriously, what fucking realm am I in? Bunch of inauthentic corporate beta males who want to just say shit that makes no sense and avoid the inherent hierarchical power and value systems, meaning and purpose and principles written into the cosmos and the fabric of reality. One with self, in conscience. Would you please stop? We're done. I'm done with you. If I can see you and know you, the damn universe and whatever runs it can see you and know you, and it's doling out as we speak. I'm saying you gotta bang it out sometime. I'm saying you gotta go to a box sometime. I'm saying you gotta put some shit on record and surrender in faith and not know where it's gonna end up. That's the whole point of doing what I do. Because nothing is guaranteed. It's called cosmic gambling, you bitch ass motherfucker, and you wouldn't know nothing about it because fortune favors the bold, and you're not fortunate. You're an unfortunate slave. I can tell by looking at you. That's why we're in slavery and genocide, because weak fucking bitch ass males create hard times. Go ask the Hopis who prophesied that. Don't argue with me. They're supposed to hate. If they ain't hating, right, then we ain't doing what's true and what's right. How many motherfuckers you think were hating on the Christed being in scripture for walking around like he had a pair? For telling everybody and their mother and brother, you better hate your own father and mother if necessary to ride with this God in truth. They forget how that being was walking around telling them, you're a status fucking infidel swine, and so are they, and you better come out of her, my people, or we're all going into judgment. You folks still haven't figured out the only reason I got to this point is because I abolished my ego and aligned with universal law completely. What you perceive as ego is your ego and narcissism you're projecting onto me. I've killed off my false sense of lower self to unite with a higher sense of self to do what needs to be done for all of us. That's the absence of ego, not the abundance of it. Projecting fuck slaves. The egotistical, narcissistic ones are the ones who haven't done what I've done yet and continue to not do it because their fear runs their life. They're not faithful in truth. They're afraid of the damn truth, and they run the opposite direction into the arms of their captors, right? Or into a purgatorial state of delusion. Either way, same outcome, unactualized, unrealized, spiritually dead. Back to the recycling pit for you. See if we can get it in the next slide.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I want to help you. I want to help you live the life you want to love.